The wind howled like a banshee, driving needle-sharp ice crystals into any exposed skin. I pulled my scarf tighter, fighting to see through the whiteout conditions. This was weather that could kill in minutes, not hours. Perfect. I am Captain Jack Frost. Yeah, I know, I've heard all the jokes, and right now, I'm all that stands between humanity and extinction. Well, me and my ragtag band of winter warriors. 3 months ago, the Zar'kali arrived. Towering, 6-limbed monstrosities with chitinous armor and enough firepower to level a city. They picked one hell of a time to invade. Earth was already in the grip of the worst winter in recorded history. Climate change's last laugh, they called it. Most of humanity was huddled in overcrowded cities, rationing dwindling resources. The aliens thought it would be easy. In many ways, it was. Our militaries, weakened by years of climate disasters, fell quickly. But they didn't count on 2 things: Canadian stubbornness and the fact that humans are insane. Contact, 2 clicks north, Garcia's voice crackled through my comms. Even with our jury-rigged thermal dampeners, the aliens' tech could pick up our heat signatures if we weren't careful. I raised a fist, and my team froze. 5 of us, barely visible in our white thermal gear, blended seamlessly with the snowy landscape. We've been tracking this Zar'kali patrol for days, waiting for the right moment to strike. "Sitrep," I whispered. 3 heavies, 2 scouts, Garcia reported. They're struggling. One's dragging its legs. I allowed myself a grim smile. The cold was getting to them. Good. When the Zar'kali first landed, they steamrolled over our warmest regions. But as they pushed north, following the retreating pockets of humanity, things changed. Their armor froze and cracked. Their energy weapons malfunctioned in the extreme cold, and those alien bastards discovered that they weren't built for sub-zero temperatures. We, on the other hand, had millennia of adaptation on our side. "All right, listen up," I said, gathering my team close. "Chen, you're on Overwatch. Garcia, Mackenzie, you're with me for the main assault. Volkov, get ready with that juice of yours." Volkov grinned, patting the makeshift flamethrower strapped to his back. The crazy Russian had cooked up a mixture of napalm and thermite that burned hot enough to melt through Zar'kali armor. We called it Frost's Fire, much to my chagrin. "Remember," I continued, "we hit hard and fast. Their comms are spotty in this weather, but we can't count on that. In and out in 2 minutes. Questions?" Silence. Just the wind and the creak of ice. My team knew the drill. We've been doing this dance for weeks now, whittling down the alien forces 1 patrol at a time. "All right then," I said, chambering a round in my rifle. The familiar weight was comforting. "Let's go remind these off-world bastards why you don't mess with Deathworlders in their element." As we moved out, I couldn't help but marvel at the bizarre turn my life had taken. 6 months ago, I was training soldiers in Arctic warfare, preparing for a world where the poles were strategic hot zones. Now, I was leading Earth's last stand against an alien invasion. But as we crept through the blinding snow towards our unwary prey, I felt a fierce pride. Let them bring their advanced tech and overwhelming numbers. We had something they couldn't match: the unbreakable human spirit, forged in the crucible of Earth's harshest environments. The storm intensified, cloaking our approach. Perfect hunting weather. Time to show the Zar'kali why they should have stayed in the warm, cozy depths of space. The Zar'kali patrol came into view, dark shapes against the endless white. Their movements were sluggish, uncoordinated. I almost felt sorry for them. Almost. I signaled to my team, and we fanned out, taking our positions. Chen's voice whispered in my ear, "I've got eyes on the targets, waiting for your go." I watched the aliens, studying their patterns. The 2 scouts led the way, their sensor arrays sweeping back and forth. Behind them, the 3 heavies lumbered along, massive energy cannons at the ready. One of them was definitely struggling, its gait uneven and labored. "Volkov," I murmured, "focus on that injured one first. Garcia, Mackenzie, you're on the scouts. I'll handle the other 2 heavies. Chen, you know the drill." A chorus of soft affirmatives rang through the comms. I took a deep breath, feeling the icy air burn my lungs. This was the moment that mattered, the thin line between victory and annihilation. Execute. The world erupted into chaos. Chen's rifle cracked, the sound swallowed by the howling wind. But the effect was immediate. One of the scouts dropped, purple blood staining the snow. Before the aliens could react, Volkov's flamethrower roared to life. A stream of liquid fire arced through the air, splattering across the injured heavy. The Zar'kali screamed, a high, keening sound that set my teeth on edge, as the thermite mixture began to eat through its armor. I was already moving, charging toward the remaining heavies. They were turning, bringing their energy cannons to bear, but the cold had slowed their reactions. I dropped to one knee, my rifle steady despite the biting wind. 2 quick bursts, aimed at the weak points in their armor we'd discovered through trial and bloody error. The first heavy went down, clutching at its throat where the armor joined the flesh. The second managed to fire, the air crackling with energy, but the cold had done its work. Instead of the devastating beam that had leveled cities, it was a weak pulse that dissipated harmlessly. Garcia and Mackenzie made short work of the remaining scout, their coordinated attack leaving the alien no chance to retaliate. In less than a minute, it was over. 5 Zar'kali lay dead or dying in the snow. Area secure, Chen reported. No signs of reinforcements. I nodded, even though he couldn't see me. Good work, people. Volkov, make sure they're down for good. Garcia, Mackenzie, salvage what you can. We move in 5. As my team set about their tasks, I approached the heavy I'd shot in the throat. It was still alive, those alien eyes fixing on me with a mixture of pain and... was that fear? I crouched beside it, curiosity overcoming caution. Why? I asked, knowing it couldn't understand me. Why come here? Why fight a war in a place your bodies can't handle? The Zar'kali made a gurgling sound, purple blood bubbling from its mouth. Then, to my shock, it spoke. The words were garbled, run through some kind of translator, but I could make them out. Easy. Pray, it rasped. Weak. World. Cold. Not. Expected. I laughed, a harsh sound in the frozen air. Weak world? You poor, dumb bastard. You have no idea what weak means. Standing, I put the alien out of its misery with a single shot. As its body slumped into the blood-stained snow, I felt a fierce pride surge through me. They had come expecting easy prey, a primitive species ripe for conquest. Instead, they found the indomitable human spirit, tempered by millennia of surviving on a world that constantly tried to kill us. Cap, Garcia called out, you've got to see this. I joined her by the body of one of the scouts. She held up a small device, its screen flickering with alien script. It's a map, she said, excitement clear in her voice. I think it shows their main base of operations. I stared at the device, hope and dread warring in my chest. This could be the break we've been waiting for, a chance to strike at the heart of the invasion. But it could also be a trap, a lure to draw us out. Pack it up, I decided. We'll figure it out back at base. As we prepared to move out, leaving no trace of our presence but 5 alien corpses, I couldn't shake the feeling that we were on the cusp of something big. The tide of this war was about to turn, one way or another. And as the storm closed in around us, I silently dared the universe to throw its worst at us. After all, we were humans, survivors, Deathworlders. We'd be ready. The trek back to our hidden base was grueling. The storm had intensified, turning the world into a howling maelstrom of white. But we pushed on, our bodies honed by months of surviving in this frozen hell. Our base was an old hydroelectric dam, long abandoned before the invasion. The massive concrete structure was built into the side of a mountain, offering natural camouflage and protection from the elements. More importantly, its internal system still worked, providing us with power and a degree of comfort unheard of in this post-invasion world. As we approached, I activated the secure comm link in my helmet. Nighthawk to Nest, we're coming in hot. Prep the med bay and get the eggheads ready. We've got something big. Copy that, Nighthawk, came the reply. Welcome home. The hidden entrance slid open, a narrow slit in the dam's face that was invisible unless you knew exactly where to look. We filed in quickly, the door sealing behind us with a reassuring thunk. Inside, it was a flurry of activity. Dr. Emily Chen, our chief scientist and medic, and no relation to our sniper, Chen, was already waiting with her team. Any injuries? She asked, her eyes scanning our group. I shook my head. We're fine, Doc. But we've got some alien tech for you to look at. Her eyes lit up at that. Emily had been a xenobiologist before the invasion, and her expertise had been invaluable in understanding our enemy. Garcia, I called out, give the doc our new toy. The rest of you, get some food and rest. Debrief in 2 hours. As my team dispersed, I made my way to the command center. It was a far cry from the high-tech military installations I'd once worked in, but it served our purposes. Maps covered the walls, marked with known Zar'kali positions and our own supply caches. A bank of salvaged computers hummed quietly, running constant analyses of weather patterns and alien communications. Commander Sarah Reeves was waiting for me. A former NATO strategist, she'd been instrumental in organizing the resistance after the fall of our formal military structures. Jack, she greeted me, her face grim. What did you find out there? I filled her in on the patrol we'd eliminated and the device we'd recovered. As I spoke, I could see the wheels turning in her head, weighing possibilities and risks. If that map is accurate, she said slowly, it could change everything. I nodded. Or it could be a trap to lure us out of hiding. Agreed. We'll need to verify the information before we make any moves. She paused, fixing me with a steady gaze. There's something else you should know. We've been picking up some strange chatter on the alien frequencies. It's heavily encrypted, but from what we can gather, they're afraid. That caught me off guard. Afraid? Of what? Of us, Jack. Of humans. A small, fierce smile played at the corners of her mouth. Seems like our guerrilla tactics are having more of an effect than we realized. They're calling us ice demons and winter ghosts. Some of the lower ranks are even talking about abandoning the invasion. I let out a low whistle. This was big news indeed. If we could demoralize the Zar'kali enough, we might be able to force a withdrawal without a direct confrontation we couldn't hope to win. Our conversation was interrupted by the arrival of Dr. Chen, her face flushed with excitement. Captain, Commander, she said breathlessly, you need to see this. We followed her to the lab, where the alien device was hooked up to our computers. Strange symbols and diagrams flickered across the screens. It's not just a map, Emily explained, her fingers flying over the keyboard. It's a complete tactical database. Troop movements, supply lines, command structures, it's all here. I felt a surge of adrenaline. This was the break we'd been waiting for. There's more, Emily continued. I've found references to something called Project Thaw. From what I can gather, it's some kind of terraforming initiative. They're trying to alter our planet's climate, to make it more suitable for their physiology. The implications hit me like a punch to the gut. If the Zar'kali succeeded in raising global temperatures, we'd lose our one major advantage. The brutal cold that had been our ally would become just another weapon in the aliens' arsenal. I shared a look with Commander Reeves. We both knew what this meant. Gather the team, I said grimly. We need to plan our next move carefully. The fate of our world might just rest on what we do in the next few days. As I left the lab, my mind was racing. We'd started this fight just trying to survive. To bloody, the Zar'kali knows enough that they'd leave us alone. Now, we were faced with the possibility of turning the tide of the entire war. The stakes had never been higher. But then again, humanity had always performed best with our backs against the wall. Let the aliens come with their terraforming and their advanced tech. We'd show them what it truly means to be a Deathworlder. The briefing room was packed, a palpable tension filling the air. Every surviving member of our resistance cell was present, their faces a mix of hope and apprehension. I stood at the front, flanked by Commander Reeves and Dr. Chen, ready to lay out our most ambitious plan yet. "All right, listen up," I began, my voice cutting through the murmurs. "Thanks to our recent acquisition, we now have unprecedented insight into the Zar'kali operation. But we've also uncovered a threat that could turn this war decisively in their favor." I nodded to Emily, who brought up a holographic display of Earth. Red dots appeared across the globe, clustered mainly in the polar regions. "These are the locations of what the Zar'kali call thermal nodes," Emily explained. "They're the key components of Project Thaw, a massive terraforming operation designed to raise Earth's temperature to levels more suitable for Zar'kali physiology." A collective gasp went through the room. The implications were clear to everyone. Commander Reeves stepped forward. "If we allow this project to succeed, we lose our primary advantage. The cold that's been hampering their operations will become just another weapon in their arsenal." "So what's the plan?" Garcia called out from the back. I took a deep breath. "We're going to hit them where it hurts. Our intel shows that the largest concentration of these thermal nodes is located at a Zar'kali base about 300 kilometers north of here. It's also where they're coordinating the entire Project Thaw operation." I paused, letting the information sink in. "We're going to infiltrate that base, shut down the thermal nodes, and destroy their command center." The room erupted into a cacophony of voices. Some expressed excitement, others disbelief. "Quiet," Commander Reeves shouted, bringing order back to the room. "Captain Frost, continue." I nodded my thanks. "I know it sounds impossible. The base is heavily fortified, with more Zar'kali in one place than we've ever faced. But we have two key advantages." I tapped a control, and the hologram zoomed in on the base. "First, the cold. Even with their adaptations, the Zar'kali are struggling in these temperatures. We're not. Second, they don't know we're coming. The attack on the patrol that got us this intel was reported as a weather-related accident. They have no idea we have this information." "What about the civilians?" someone asked. "There's a refugee camp not far from that base." "That's part of the plan," I replied. "We're going to coordinate with the camp leaders. When we launch our attack, they're going to stage a mass exodus, drawing Zar'kali forces away from the base." I looked around the room, meeting each person's eyes. "I won't lie to you. This will be the most dangerous mission we've ever undertaken. But if we succeed, we'll not only save countless lives, we'll deal a blow to the Zar'kali that they might never recover from." The room was silent for a moment. Then Garcia stood up. "I'm in. Those bastards came to our world thinking we'd be easy prey. Time to show them how wrong they were." One by one, others voiced their support. The energy in the room shifted from apprehension to determination. Commander Reeves stepped forward again. "We move out in 48 hours. Squad leaders, stay behind for detailed briefings. The rest of you, prepare your gear and get some rest. You're going to need it." As the room began to clear, Emily approached me. "Jack, there's something else you should know." She lowered her voice. "The thermal nodes, they're not just machines, they're alive. Some kind of bioengineered organism." I frowned. "What are you saying, Doc?" "I'm saying that destroying them might not be as simple as planting some explosives. We might need to, well, kill them." The implications of her words hit me hard. We weren't just going up against alien technology, but alien life forms. The ethical implications were staggering, but so were the stakes. "Understood," I said finally. "We'll cross that bridge when we come to it. For now, focus on finding us a way to shut those things down." As Emily nodded and walked away, I turned to stare at the holographic display of the Zar'kali base. In 2 days, we'd be there, risking everything on this one desperate gambit. I thought of all the lives lost, the cities destroyed, the world forever changed by this invasion. Then I thought of the future we were fighting for, a world free from alien domination. "Bring it on," I muttered to myself. "We're ready for whatever you've got." Little did I know, the Zar'kali had a few surprises of their own waiting for us. The battle ahead would test us in ways we couldn't imagine, pushing the very limits of human endurance and ingenuity. But that's what we do best, isn't it? Facing the impossible and finding a way to prevail. After all, we're the Deathworlders, and we were about to remind the galaxy why that name should be feared. The next 48 hours were a blur of preparation. Every piece of equipment was checked and double-checked. Battle plans were memorized, contingencies discussed ad nauseum. The air thrummed with nervous energy, a potent mixture of fear and determination. As the hour of our departure approached, I found myself standing at the dam's observation deck, staring out at the frozen landscape. The storm had passed, leaving behind a world of crystalline beauty. Hard to believe that in this serene setting, we were about to embark on a mission that could decide the fate of our species. Penny for your thoughts, Captain? I turned to see Garcia approaching, her usually jovial face uncharacteristically serious. Just wondering if we're doing the right thing, I admitted. We're risking everything on this one operation. Garcia nodded, her eyes scanning the horizon. You know, my abuela used to tell me stories about our ancestors in Cuba, how they fought against impossible odds for their freedom. She always said, Midra, sometimes you have to risk everything to gain anything. I couldn't help but smile. Your abuela sounds like a wise woman. She was, Garcia replied, a hint of sadness in her voice. She didn't make it through the first wave of the invasion, but I like to think she'd be proud of what we're doing here. We stood in companionable silence for a moment, each lost in our own thoughts. Then Garcia spoke again, her voice barely above a whisper. Do you think we can win this, Jack? Really win? I mean, not just survive, but actually drive them off our world. I turned to look at her, seeing the vulnerability behind her usual tough exterior. In that moment, I was reminded of just how young many of my team were. Garcia couldn't have been more than 25, thrust into a war against an enemy from the stars. I think, I said slowly, choosing my words carefully, that humanity has a habit of doing the impossible when our backs are against the wall. The Zar'kali thought they were invading a weak, primitive world. Instead, they found a species tempered by millennia of survival against a planet that constantly tries to kill us. They're not ready for what we can do when we're truly pushed to the brink. Garcia nodded, a fierce light coming into her eyes. Damn straight. Let's go remind them why you don't mess with Deathworlders. As we made our way to the staging area, I felt a renewed sense of purpose. Whatever doubts I had, I couldn't afford to let them show. My team needed me to be strong, to be the leader they could rally behind. The staging area was a hive of activity. Snowmobiles were being prepped, weapons checked one last time. Dr. Chen was distributing specially designed thermal suits, the product of weeks of reverse engineering Zar'kali technology. These should help mask your heat signatures, she explained, handing me a suit. But be careful, they're not perfect, and prolonged exposure to extreme cold can still be dangerous. I nodded my thanks, slipping the suit on over my base layers. It felt strange, almost alive, adjusting to my body temperature. Commander Reeves approached, her face grim. Latest intel from the refugee camp. They're ready to begin the diversion on our signal. Jack, a lot of lives are riding on this. Civilian lives. Understood, I replied, the weight of responsibility settling heavily on my shoulders. We won't let them down. As the team assembled, I looked at each of their faces. Garcia, her jaw set in determination. Chen, our sniper, methodically checking his rifle. Volkov, a manic grin on his face as he patted his beloved flamethrower. Mackenzie, quiet as always, but with a steely glint in his eyes. And dozens more, each with their own stories, their own reasons for fighting, all looking to me for leadership. I cleared my throat, suddenly feeling the need to say something. Speeches had never been my strong suit, but in that moment, words came unbidden. Listen up, I began, my voice carrying across the now silent room. What we're about to do, it's more than just a mission. It's a statement. To the Zar'kali, to ourselves, to the entire galaxy. We're going to show them that humanity isn't just another conquest, another footnote in their history of expansion. I paused, making eye contact with each member of my team. We are the children of Earth, a world that forged us through fire and ice. Every step of our evolution was a battle for survival. And now, we're going to use everything our world taught us to defend it. The room was filled with a palpable energy, faces set in grim determination. Remember, I continued, we're not just fighting for ourselves. We're fighting for every human out there. For those who've fallen, and for those yet to be born. We're fighting for our right to exist, to thrive, to reach for the stars on our own terms. I raised my fist. For Earth. The answering roar shook the very foundations of the dam. As we moved out into the frigid night, I felt a surge of pride and hope. Whatever the Zar'kali threw at us, we'd face it together. The battle for our world was about to begin in earnest, and we were ready. The journey north was a grueling test of endurance. We moved under the cover of darkness, our convoy of snowmobiles barely visible against the snow-covered landscape. The modified engines hummed quietly, a testament to Dr. Chen's ingenuity in adapting Zar'kali tech to our needs. As we approached the outskirts of the alien base, I signaled for the team to halt. We gathered in a tight circle, our breath forming small clouds in the frigid air. "All right, this is it," I said, my voice low. "Chen, you're on overwatch. Find a good vantage point and keep us updated on any movement. Garcia, Volkov, you're with me on the main infiltration team. Mackenzie, you lead the second team to plant the charges on the external power generators." Each nodded in turn, their faces a mixture of determination and tightly controlled fear. "Remember," I continued, "our primary objective is to shut down the thermal nodes and destroy the command center. But if you see an opportunity to gather intel or sabotage their operations, take it. Just don't compromise the mission." I paused, looking each of them in the eye. "And if anyone gets captured, you know the protocol. We can't risk the Zar'kali learning about our base or our plans." A somber silence fell over the group. We all knew the risks, the possibility that not everyone would make it back. But it was a risk we had to take. "All right, move out. And stay frosty," I added with a grim smile, earning a few chuckles despite the tension. As the teams dispersed, I activated my comm link. "Nighthawk to Nest, we're in position. Initiate Operation Snowfall." "Copy that, Nighthawk," came Commander Reeves' voice. "The refugees are on the move. Good luck, and Godspeed." I watched as Chen scaled a nearby ice formation with inhuman agility, setting up his sniper nest. Then, with a nod to Garcia and Volkov, we began our approach to the base. The Zar'kali facility loomed before us, a bizarre blend of alien architecture and hastily constructed defenses against the cold. Steam rose from various points, evidence of their struggle against the harsh environment. As we neared the perimeter, I could see the effects of our diversion. Zar'kali troops were scrambling, many heading towards the refugee movement. But not all, the base was still well guarded. "Chen, what's it look like from up there?" I whispered into my comm. "Two guards at the north entrance, looking pretty distracted," came the reply. "There's a blind spot in their sensor array about 20 meters to your right. Should be able to slip in there." "Copy that. Stand by." We made our way to the indicated spot, the thermo-adaptive suits doing their job in masking our heat signatures. As we reached the base of the wall, I nodded to Volkov. He grinned, pulling out a device that looked like a hybrid of a grappling hook and an alien tech. "Courtesy of our eggheads," he whispered, his Russian accent thick with excitement. "Should cut through this wall like butter." The device activated with a soft hum, and true to Volkov's word, it began to melt through the alien alloy. In moments, we had a hole large enough to slip through. Inside, the difference in temperature was immediately noticeable. It was warm, almost humid, clearly adjusted for Zar'kali comfort. "Damn," Garcia muttered. "No wonder these bastards want to terraform our planet. They like it hot." I nodded grimly. "All the more reason to shut this operation down. Come on, the central control should be this way." We moved swiftly through the corridors, our path guided by the intel from the captured device. The interior of the base was a maze of organic-looking structures and pulsing energy conduits. It was alien, unsettling, a constant reminder of just how out of our depth we were. As we rounded a corner, we came face to face with a Zar'kali soldier. For a split second, both sides froze in surprise. Then training kicked in. I lunged forward, my combat knife finding a weak spot in the alien's armor before it could raise an alarm. Purple blood spurted as the creature collapsed. Garcia hissed. That was too close. Stay focused, I replied, wiping my blade. We're almost there. But as we approached the central chamber, a piercing alarm suddenly blared through the facility. My heart sank as I realized our luck had run out. Intruder alert, a mechanical voice announced in oddly accented English. Human presence detected in Sector 7. All units converge. So much for the element of surprise, Volkov growled, readying his weapon. I quickly assessed our options. We were close to our objective, but now we'd be fighting our way there and back out. New plan, I said, my mind racing. We split up. Garcia, you head for the thermal node controls. Volkov, find the command center and plant your charges. I'll create a diversion and draw their forces away. They both looked at me, concern evident in their eyes. Jack, that's suicide, Garcia protested. I managed a grim smile. Maybe. But it's our best shot at completing the mission. Now go, that's an order. As they reluctantly moved out, I took a deep breath, readying myself for what was to come. Then I stepped out into the corridor, my weapons raised, and bellowed a challenge that echoed through the alien halls. All right, you overgrown cockroaches, you wanted a war. Come and get it. The sound of approaching Zar'kali troops filled the air. As I prepared to make my stand, I couldn't help but think that this might be my last battle. But if it meant giving humanity a fighting chance, it would be worth it. Let them come. This Deathworlder was ready to show them exactly what he was made of. The corridors of the Zar'kali base became a battleground. I moved swiftly, using every trick I'd learned in years of combat training. The aliens had the advantage in numbers and firepower, but I had something they didn't: intimate knowledge of warfare in confined, cold spaces. I ducked into a side passage, the screech of Zar'kali energy weapons filling the air. The acrid smell of ozone mixed with the metallic tang of alien blood. I'd already taken down 3 of them, but more kept coming. Chen, I panted into my calm, sitrep on the others. Garcia's made it to the thermal control room, came the reply, punctuated by the crack of his sniper rifle. Volkov's engaging hostiles near the command center. Mackenzie's team is planting the last charges now. I allowed myself a grim smile. Despite everything, the plan was working. A group of Zar'kali rounded the corner, their chitinous armor gleaming under the harsh lights. I lobbed a grenade, another of Dr. Chen's special concoctions, and dove for cover. The explosion was followed by alien screams of pain and confusion. As the smoke cleared, I saw why. The grenade had released a rapidly expanding foam that was freezing solid in the warm air of the base, trapping the Zar'kali in place. Nighthawk, Garcia's voice crackled over the comm. I'm in the control room, but we've got a problem. The thermal nodes. They're not just machines, they're alive. Jack. Some kind of bioengineered organisms. I cursed under my breath. Emily had warned us about this, but seeing it was another matter entirely. Can you shut them down? I asked, taking down another alien with a well-placed shot. I think so. But Jack, it'll kill them. Are we really ready to commit genocide? The question hit me like a physical blow. In the heat of battle, it was easy to see the Zar'kali as nothing more than an enemy to be defeated. But this was different. We don't have a choice, I said, my voice heavy. If we don't stop them here, they'll terraform our entire planet. Billions will die. There was a long pause, filled only by the sounds of battle echoing through the base. Understood, Garcia finally replied, her voice tight. Initiating shutdown sequence. As if on cue, the entire base shuddered. Lights flickered, and a low moan seemed to emanate from the very walls. "What the hell was that?" Volkov's gruff voice came over the comm. "The thermal nodes," I replied, ducking under a swipe from a Zar'kali blade. "They're shutting down. Volkov, status on the charges." "All set," he grunted. "Ready to blow this popsicle stand on your command." "Not yet," I ordered. "We need to make sure." My words were cut off by a deafening roar. The corridor in front of me exploded outward, and I found myself face to face with the largest Zar'kali I'd ever seen. Its armor was adorned with intricate markings, and it wielded a massive energy weapon that hummed with power. "So," it growled in heavily accented English, "you are the ice demon who leads these attacks." I raised my weapon, though I knew it would likely be useless against this behemoth. "And you must be the big boss. Come to do your own dirty work for a change." The alien's mandibles clicked in what I assumed was laughter. "You humans, so arrogant. Did you really think you could defeat us? We have conquered worlds you couldn't even imagine." "Maybe," I replied, slowly reaching for a thermal detonator on my belt. "But you've never faced Deathworlders before." I hurled the detonator, simultaneously diving to the side. The explosion rocked the corridor, but when the smoke cleared, the Zar'kali commander still stood, though its armor was scorched and cracked. Impressive, it rumbled, but futile. It raised its weapon, and I knew I was out of options. I closed my eyes, ready to meet my end. But the killing blow never came. Instead, I heard a familiar battle cry and opened my eyes to see Volkov charging down the corridor, his flamethrower spewing liquid fire. The Zar'kali commander roared in pain and fury as the flames engulfed it. I seized the opportunity, firing round after round into the weakened points of its armor. Finally, with a sound like a dying mountain, the alien fell. Volkov helped me to my feet, his face split in a wild grin despite the blood running down one side of his face. "Couldn't let you have all the fun, Captain." "Nighthawk," Chen's urgent voice came over the comm. "We've got incoming. Looks like they called for reinforcements. A lot of them." I shared a look with Volkov. We both knew what that meant. "All units, fall back to extraction point Alpha," I ordered. "Volkov, light it up." As we ran through the chaotic corridors of the dying base, Volkov triggered the charges. The explosions rocked the entire structure, and I could hear the screams of Zar'kali trapped in the collapsing sections. We burst out into the frigid night air, the coldest shock after the warmth of the base. Snowmobiles roared to life as my team regrouped, and we sped away just as the Zar'kali facility erupted in a final, massive explosion. As we raced across the frozen landscape, I allowed myself a moment of hope. We'd struck a major blow against the invaders, one that might just turn the tide of the war. But I knew the fight was far from over. The Zar'kali would retaliate, and they'd be out for blood. We'd have to be ready. For now, though, we'd earned a moment of victory. As the first rays of dawn broke over the horizon, painting the snow-covered world in shades of pink and gold, I felt a fierce pride in what we'd accomplished. We were humanity's last line of defense, the winter warriors who refused to bow to alien tyranny, and we'd just shown the galaxy exactly what Deathworlders were capable of. The journey back to our base was tense, every moment filled with the expectation of Zar'kali pursuit. But as the miles stretched on and the alien facility disappeared behind us, a new feeling began to take hold, the electric thrill of victory against impossible odds. We arrived at the dam as the sun crested the horizon, bathing the world in a golden glow that seemed to celebrate our success. Commander Reeves was waiting for us, her usually stoic face breaking into a rare smile as we dismounted our snowmobiles. "Well done, all of you," she said, her voice thick with emotion. "We've been monitoring the situation. The refugee diversion was a complete success, and our long-range scanners show a massive disruption in Zar'kali communications across the entire sector." A cheer went up from the team, the pent-up tension of the mission finally releasing in a cathartic wave of joy and relief. I allowed myself a small smile, but I knew our work was far from over. Let's not celebrate too soon, I cautioned, though I couldn't keep the pride out of my voice. We've won a battle, but the war is far from over. Garcia, Volkov, I need your after-action reports ASAP. The rest of you, get some food and rest. You've earned it. As the team dispersed, Commander Reeves pulled me aside. Jack, we need to talk, in private. Her tone sent a chill down my spine that had nothing to do with the Arctic air. I followed her to the command center, where Dr. Emily Chen was waiting, her face a mask of concern. What's going on? I asked, looking between them. Emily spoke first, her words careful and measured. The data we recovered from the Zar'kali base, it's more than we could have hoped for. We now have a comprehensive understanding of their terraforming technology. I nodded, not seeing the problem. That's good, isn't it? We can use that to counter their efforts more effectively. Yes, Commander Reeves said slowly, but that's not all. Emily, show him. The scientist tapped a few commands into the main console, and a holographic display sprang to life. It showed Earth, but not as I'd ever seen it before. The familiar continents were there, but the climate was dramatically different. Vast deserts covered areas that should have been temperate, while tropical zones extended far beyond their current boundaries. This is a projection of Earth's climate in approximately 50 years, based on current trends, Emily explained. Even if we drive off the Zar'kali tomorrow, the damage they've done to our ecosystem might be irreversible. The implications hit me like a physical blow. We'd been so focused on the immediate threat of the invasion that we'd overlooked the long-term consequences of the aliens' actions. So what are you saying? I asked, though I had a sinking feeling I already knew the answer. Commander Reeves took a deep breath. We're saying that to save our planet, we might need to use the Zar'kali's own technology against them. Not just to reverse the damage they've done, but to stabilize our climate for the long term. I stared at them in disbelief. You want us to terraform our own planet? Do you have any idea of the ethical implications of that? Who are we to decide the fate of Earth's ecosystem? Who are we not to, if the alternative is watching our world die? Emily countered, her voice rising with passion. Jack, this isn't just about us anymore. It's about every species on Earth, every ecosystem, every future generation. We have the knowledge now. Can we really turn our backs on it? I felt the weight of the decision pressing down on me. It was one thing to fight against an alien invasion, to make the hard choices in the heat of battle. But this was playing God on a planetary scale. I need time to think about this, I said finally, and we need to focus on the immediate threat. The Zar'kali aren't going to take this defeat lying down. We need to prepare for their counterattack. Commander Reeves nodded, her face grim. Agreed. But Jack, we don't have the luxury of time. Every day we wait, our planet slips further away from us. As I left the command center, my mind was a whirlwind of conflicting thoughts and emotions. We'd won a great victory, but at what cost? And what would the price of our ultimate victory be? I made my way to the observation deck, needing a moment of solitude to process everything. As I looked out over the frozen landscape, I couldn't help but wonder, in our fight to save our world from alien invaders, would we end up changing it beyond recognition ourselves? The future of humanity, of Earth itself, hung in the balance, and once again, the weight of that decision rested squarely on my shoulders. But isn't that what it means to be human? To face impossible choices, to push the boundaries of what's possible. As I stood there, watching the sun climb higher in the sky, I made a silent vow. Whatever came next, whatever decisions we had to make, we would face it as we always had, with courage, ingenuity, and the indomitable spirit that made us Deathworlders. The real battle, I realized, was just beginning. The next few days were a blur of activity. As predicted, the Zar'kali retaliation was swift and brutal. Reports flooded in from our scattered resistance cells across the globe. Increased alien activity, stepped-up patrols, and a new wave of atmospheric processors being deployed. I spent most of my time in the command center, poring over intelligence reports and strategizing with Commander Reeves. The victory we'd achieved had bought us some breathing room, but it had also painted a target on our backs. "They're getting desperate," Reeves observed, gesturing to the holographic map dotted with Zar'kali movements. "This new push, they're not even trying to be subtle anymore." I nodded grimly. "They know we have the capability to hurt them now. They're trying to finish this before we can strike again." Our discussion was interrupted by Dr. Chen's arrival. The scientist looked haggard, dark circles under her eyes testament to the long hours she'd been putting in. "I've finished analyzing the data from the thermal nodes," she announced without preamble. Well, you need to see this for yourselves." She pulled up a new holographic display, showing a complex molecular structure that pulsed and shifted as we watched. "This is the core component of their terraforming technology," Emily explained. "It's not just advanced, it's almost alive. It adapts, evolves to suit its environment. That's why our previous attempts to counter it have been so ineffective." I leaned in, studying the bizarre structure. "Can we use it? Turn their own weapon against them?" Emily hesitated. "Theoretically, yes. But Jack, you have to understand the scale of what we're talking about. This isn't just about reversing the Zar'kali's damage. If we deploy this, we'd be fundamentally altering Earth's entire ecosystem. The changes would be, well, irreversible." The weight of the decision pressed down on me once again. I turned to Commander Reeves. "What do you think?" She was quiet for a long moment, her eyes fixed on the shifting hologram. "I think," she said slowly, "that we're out of options. The Zar'kali aren't going to stop. If we don't act now, there might not be an Earth left to save." I nodded, feeling a mix of resolve and trepidation. "All right, Dr. Chen, start working on a deployment plan. But keep it quiet. The fewer people who know about this, the better." As Emily hurried off, I turned back to the main strategic display. "In the meantime, we need to buy ourselves some time. Commander, I think it's time we took the fight to them." A series of coordinated strikes hit them where they're weakest. Reeves raised an eyebrow. "Bold move, Captain. But with what resources? We're stretched thin as it is." I allowed myself a small, grim smile. "We've got something they don't, the home field advantage, and it's time we used it to its fullest." Over the next few hours, we hashed out a plan. It was risky, borderline insane, but it was the best shot we had. As I left to brief the team, Reeves caught my arm. "Jack," she said, her voice low. "Are you sure about this? Using their tech, it's a hell of a gamble." I met her gaze steadily. "No, I'm not sure. But I am sure that if we do nothing, we lose everything. Sometimes you have to roll the hard six." She nodded, understanding the reference. "All right then. Let's go save the world." The briefing room was packed, every available fighter crammed in to hear the plan. As I laid out the details of our upcoming offensive, I could see the mix of emotions on their faces: fear, determination, hope. "I won't lie to you," I concluded. "This is going to be the hardest fight of our lives. We're going to hit the Zar'kali hard, and they're going to hit back harder. But remember what we're fighting for. This isn't just about survival anymore. It's about taking back our future, about showing the galaxy that humanity won't go quietly into the night." Garcia spoke up from the back. "What about the terraforming tech, Captain? Are we really going to use it?" I hesitated, weighing my words carefully. "That decision hasn't been made yet. For now, we focus on the mission at hand. We push the Zar'kali back. We buy ourselves time to consider all our options. Understood?" A chorus of affirmatives rang out. As the room began to clear, I caught snippets of conversation, nervous jokes, quiet words of encouragement, solemn promises to watch each other's backs. Volkov approached me, his usual grin replaced by a serious expression. "It's a good plan, Captain. Crazy, but good. Just like old times, eh?" I clapped him on the shoulder. "Let's hope it works out better than some of those old times, my friend." As I watched my team prepare for the battles ahead, I felt a surge of pride. These were Earth's finest, not because they were the strongest or the smartest, but because they refused to give up, no matter the odds. We were Deathworlders, forged in the crucible of a planet that had tried to kill us at every turn. And now, facing an enemy from beyond the stars, we would show them exactly what that meant. The coming days would test us like never before. But as I looked at the determined faces around me, I knew one thing for certain: whatever the cost, whatever the consequences, we would fight. For our home, for our future, for the right to chart our own destiny among the stars. The battle for Earth was entering its final, decisive phase, and we were ready. The world became a battlefield. Our coordinated strikes against Zar'kali strongholds across the globe ignited a firestorm of conflict that raged day and night. Every victory was hard-won, every defeat a bitter pill to swallow. But slowly, inexorably, we pushed them back. I found myself in the thick of it, leading from the front as we'd always done. The freezing tundra of Siberia, the windswept peaks of the Andes, the barren Australian outback, each became a theater of war where human ingenuity and determination clashed with alien technology and numbers. It was during a particularly fierce battle in the Rocky Mountains that I truly understood the depths of both our enemies' resolve and our own potential. We'd cornered a significant Zar'kali force, driving them into a box canyon with sheer cliffs on three sides. Victory seemed assured until they unveiled their latest weapon, a massive walker, easily the size of a small building, bristling with energy weapons and protected by shields that shrugged off our heaviest ordnance. As it lumbered towards our position, laying waste to everything in its path, I saw fear begin to take hold in my team's eyes. We were outgunned, outmatched, and quickly running out of options. That's when Garcia spoke up, her voice steady despite the chaos around us. "Captain, remember that cliff-climbing gear we salvaged from the Alpine Research Station?" I nodded, not yet seeing where she was going with this. Her eyes gleamed with a dangerous light. "What if we use it to scale the cliffs, get above that thing where its shields are weakest?" It was insane, suicidal even. The cliffs were treacherous in the best of conditions, and we'd be completely exposed during the climb. But as I looked at the advancing behemoth, I realized it was also our only shot. "Do it," I ordered. "Volkov, Mackenzie, you're with me. We'll keep that thing distracted. The rest of you, follow Garcia's lead." What followed was one of the most harrowing experiences of my life. We darted between cover, drawing the walker's fire, while Garcia led a team up the sheer rock face. Every moment I expected to hear screams, to see bodies falling from the cliff. But they pressed on, inching their way upward with grim determination. Just when it seemed our luck had run out, when the walker had us pinned down and was preparing for the killing blow, a war cry echoed from above. Garcia and her team had reached the top, and they wasted no time in putting their position to use. Makeshift bombs, a volatile mix of salvaged Zar'kali tech and good old-fashioned human explosives, rained down on the walker. They found the weak points in its upper armor, bypassing the shields and burrowing deep into its vital systems. The resulting explosion shook the entire canyon. As the dust settled, we emerged to find the once mighty war machine reduced to a smoking heap of twisted metal. As we regrouped, battered and exhausted, but victorious, I saw something new in the eyes of my team. It wasn't just pride or relief, but a dawning realization of what we were truly capable of. "You see that?" I said, gesturing to the destroyed walker. "That's humanity in a nutshell. They throw their best at us, their biggest, most advanced tech, and we climb a damn cliff and drop homemade bombs on their heads." Laughter, tinged with hysteria, but genuine, rippled through the group. It was a moment of pure catharsis, a release of the tension that had built up over months of desperate fighting. But our celebration was short-lived. As we made our way back to base, a priority message came through from Commander Reeves. "Jack," her voice was tense, urgent. "We've got a situation. The Zar'kali. They're changing tactics. They're targeting Earth itself." My blood ran cold. "What do you mean?" "Long-range sensors are picking up massive energy buildups at their main bases. Dr. Chen thinks. She thinks they're preparing to trigger a runaway greenhouse effect. They're going to try to turn Earth into a Venus-like hellscape." The implications hit me like a physical blow. If the Zar'kali succeeded, it wouldn't matter if we won every battle from here on out. Our planet would become uninhabitable, not just for us, but for all terrestrial life. "How long do we have?" I asked, already knowing I wouldn't like the answer. "Days. Maybe a week at most." I closed my eyes, feeling the weight of the entire world pressing down on my shoulders. We'd known this moment might come, had prepared for it in theory. But now, faced with the reality, the decision seemed impossibly daunting. "Understood," I said finally. "Initiate Protocol Omega. It's time we fight fire with fire." As I gave the order, I knew we were crossing a line, using the Zar'kali's own terraforming technology against them on a global scale. It was a desperate gambit with unknowable consequences. But as I looked at my team, saw the determination in their eyes, I knew we had no choice. We were humanity's last line of defense, the Winter Warriors who had defied an alien empire. And now, we would take our biggest risk yet to save not just our species, but our entire world. As we raced back to base, I steeled myself for the challenges ahead. The final battle for Earth was about to begin, and the fate of our planet hung in the balance. But if there's one thing I've learned through all of this, it's that you should never, ever underestimate the tenacity of Deathworlders fighting for their home. Whatever comes next, we'll face it together. For Earth. For humanity. For our future among the stars. Chapter 2. The world had changed. I stood atop a ridge, overlooking a valley that, just months ago, had been a frozen wasteland. Now it teemed with life, vibrant, alien, and utterly breathtaking. Massive trees, their bark a shimmering blue-green, stretched towards the sky. Between them, flowers the size of houses bloomed in impossible colors. In the distance, I could make out the shapes of creatures that defied description, moving with a grace that belied their otherworldly forms. This was Earth, but not as we'd ever known it. I am Captain Jack Frost, and I helped make this happen. When the Zar'kali threatened to turn our planet into an uninhabitable hellscape, we made the impossible choice to use their own terraforming technology against them. We saved humanity, but at what cost? "Still brooding, Captain?" I turned to see Volkov approaching, his usual grin somewhat subdued. Like all of us, he bore the scars of our desperate battle against the Zar'kali, both physical and psychological. "Just thinking," I replied, my eyes drawn back to the alien landscape before us. "Did we do the right thing, Volkov? Look at this place. It's beautiful, but it's not. It's not home." Volkov was quiet for a moment, his gaze sweeping across the transformed valley. "Home is where we make it, Jack. Besides, better this than a Venus-like hellhole, no?" I nodded, acknowledging the point. We'd prevented the worst-case scenario, but the world we'd saved was one we barely recognized. Our conversation was interrupted by the crackle of our comms. "Captain Frost, this is base. We're picking up some strange readings. You need to see this." "Copy that," I replied, sharing a look with Volkov. "We're on our way." As we made our way back to our makeshift command center, a repurposed Zar'kali structure we'd claimed after their defeat, I couldn't shake a sense of unease. The past few months had been a whirlwind of adaptation and exploration. We'd discovered new species daily, mapped changing coastlines, and struggled to understand the complex ecosystem we'd inadvertently created. But through it all, there had been a nagging feeling that we'd opened a door we couldn't close. That by wielding power beyond our understanding, we'd attracted attention we weren't prepared for. The command center was a hive of activity when we arrived. Dr. Emily Chen was hunched over a console, her face by the glow of rapidly scrolling data. "What have we got, Doc?" I asked, peering over her shoulder. She looked up, her eyes wide with a mixture of excitement and fear. "Jack, we're picking up an energy signature unlike anything we've ever seen. It's coming from space, but it's not Zar'kali. This is something new." As if on cue, alarms began blaring throughout the facility. Outside, the sky lit up with an otherworldly glow. "Proximity alert," someone shouted. "Unknown object entering Earth's atmosphere." I rushed to the window, Volkov close behind. What I saw made my blood run cold. A massive shape was descending from the clouds, its surface rippling with patterns of light that hurt to look at directly. It was beautiful, terrifying, and unmistakably alien. "My God," Volkov whispered. "What is that thing?" Before I could respond, every screen in the command center flickered to life. A face appeared, if you could call it a face. It was a swirling mass of colors and shapes that somehow conveyed intelligence and emotion. When it spoke, the words seemed to bypass our ears and materialize directly in our minds. "People of Earth," the entity said, its voice resonating with ancient power. "We are the gardeners. You have used forbidden technology to reshape your world. Now, you will be judged." As the words faded, leaving a deafening silence in their wake, I realized that everything we'd faced up to this point, the Zar'kali invasion, the transformation of our planet, had been just the beginning. Humanity's true test was about to begin. The command center erupted into chaos. Panicked voices overlapped, creating a cacophony of fear and confusion. I felt it too, a primal urge to run, to hide from this incomprehensible threat. But that wasn't an option. Not for me, not for any of us. "Silence," I roared, my voice cutting through the noise. The room fell quiet, all eyes turning to me. "This is what we've trained for. Unknown threats, impossible odds. It's just another day for Deathworlders. Now, let's get to work." The effect was immediate. Training kicked in, and the team snapped into action. Emily was already analyzing the energy readings from the alien ship, while others coordinated with our scattered outposts around the globe. "Garcia," I called out, "get me a sitrep on our defensive capabilities." She nodded, fingers flying over her console. "Not good, Captain. Most of our heavy weapons are still offline from the last Zar'kali attack. We've got some reverse-engineered energy weapons, but against that." She gestured at the looming shape outside. "I don't like our odds." I grimaced. We'd focused so much on rebuilding, on understanding our transformed world, that we'd let our guard down. A rookie mistake, and one that might cost us dearly. "All right, new plan. Volkov, I want you to." My words were cut off as the alien presence filled our minds once more. "Your kind has disrupted the cosmic order," the gardeners intoned. "You have wielded forces beyond your comprehension. Prepare to present your case. If you are found wanting, your world will be reset." The implications of that last word sent a chill down my spine. Reset. As if the Earth was nothing more than a malfunctioning machine to be rebooted. "How long do we have?" I asked, not really expecting an answer. To my surprise, the alien responded. "One rotation of your planet. Use this time wisely." As the presence faded, I turned to my team. Their faces reflected the gravity of our situation, but I also saw determination there. Good. We'd need every ounce of that famous human stubbornness. "Okay, people, you heard the cosmic gardeners. We've got 24 hours to prove that humanity deserves to exist. Any ideas?" Volkov stepped forward, his face set in grim lines. "We fight. Show these gardeners that if they want to reset our planet, they'll have to go through us first." I shook my head. "We tried that with the Zar'kali, and look where it got us. Besides, I have a feeling these beings are operating on a whole different level." "What about the terraforming tech?" Emily suggested. "If we could demonstrate that we understand it, that we can use it responsibly." "Too risky," I countered. "For all we know, that's what got their attention in the first place. No, we need something else, something uniquely human." As we debated, my eyes were drawn to the window, to the alien landscape beyond. The world we'd created in our desperate bid for survival. It was strange, yes, but also beautiful in its way. And then it hit me. "Adaptation," I said softly, then louder. "Adaptation, that's our argument." The team looked at me, confusion evident on their faces. "Think about it," I continued, excitement building in my voice. "In less than a year, we've adapted to an entirely new ecosystem. We've studied it, started to understand it. Hell, we created it, even if it was by accident. If that doesn't prove our worth, I don't know what will. I could see the idea taking hold, sparking hope in their eyes. Emily, I need you to compile everything we've learned about this new Earth. Every species cataloged, every adaptation noted. Garcia, get me a line to our other outposts. If we're going to showcase humanity's adaptability, we need a global effort. As the team sprang into action, I allowed myself a moment of cautious optimism. We had a plan, a direction. It wasn't much, but it was a start. I turned back to the window, to the massive alien ship hovering above our transformed world. "All right, you cosmic gardeners," I muttered. "You want to judge us? Fine. But you're about to learn what happens when you back Deathworlders into a corner." The next 24 hours would determine the fate of our species, of our entire planet. But as I watched my team work, saw the determination in their eyes, I knew one thing for certain. Whatever these gardeners threw at us, we'd face it head-on. Because that's what humans do. We adapt, we overcome, we survive. And now, we had a planet to save. Again. The next few hours were a whirlwind of activity. Our base, once a testament to human resilience against the Zar'kali, now buzzed with a different kind of energy. We weren't just fighting for survival anymore. We were fighting for our right to exist in the cosmic order. I found myself in the makeshift lab we'd set up, surrounded by holographic displays of our transformed world. Emily was there, dark circles under her eyes betraying her exhaustion, but her voice was animated as she walked me through our findings. "It's remarkable, Jack," she said, manipulating a 3D model of one of the new plant species. "The rate of adaptation we're seeing, it's unprecedented. Some of these organisms are evolving in real time to fill ecological niches we didn't even know existed." I nodded, trying to grasp the implications. "And humans? How are we adapting?" Emily's eyes lit up. "That's the most fascinating part. Look at this." She pulled up a series of medical scans. I recognized my own body among them, along with several other team members. "Our exposure to the altered environment is changing us on a cellular level," Emily explained. "Increased lung capacity, enhanced night vision, even some signs of accelerated healing. It's as if Earth itself is reshaping us to better survive here." The thought was both exhilarating and terrifying. We'd changed our world, and now our world was changing us back. But would it be enough to satisfy the gardeners? My musings were interrupted by Volkov's arrival. "Captain, you need to see this," he said, his usual jovial tone replaced by urgency. He led us to the command center, where Garcia was monitoring global communications. "We're picking up chatter from the old Zar'kali strongholds," she reported. "It seems some of them survived our counterattack. And they're changing too." The screen showed grainy footage of what I first took to be new alien creatures. But as I looked closer, I recognized the basic Zar'kali form, albeit twisted and adapted to our new Earth. 6 limbs had become 8, chitinous armor, now covered in a moss-like growth that seemed to photosynthesize sunlight. "They are evolving," I breathed, the realization hitting me like a physical blow. "Just like us." Emily was already analyzing the footage, her fingers flying over the holographic interface. "This is incredible. The Zar'kali physiology is adapting even faster than ours. It's as if the terraforming technology recognized them as part of Earth's ecosystem." A cold pit formed in my stomach. Could they become a threat again? Volkov shook his head. "Unlikely, Captain. Our scouts report they seem more interested in survival than conquest now. It's almost as if the planet has domesticated them." The implications were staggering. Not only had we transformed our world, but we'd also inadvertently changed our former enemies into something new, something that was now as much a part of Earth as we were. As we digested this new information, an alert sounded from one of the monitoring stations. "Energy spike from the Gardner ship," a technician called out. I think they're scanning us." I felt it a moment later, a presence in my mind, alien yet somehow familiar. Images flashed before my eyes, Our battles against the Zar'kali, the moment we activated the terraforming technology, the weeks of desperate adaptation that followed. But it wasn't just my memories. I saw through Emily's eyes as she made breakthrough after breakthrough, felt Volkov's fierce joy in battle, experienced Garcia's determination as she coordinated our global defense. And more, flashes of humanity's history, our triumphs and failures, our capacity for both great good and terrible evil. As suddenly as it began, the sensation ended, leaving me gasping. Around the room, I saw my team recovering from similar experiences. They were in my head, Garcia said, her voice shaky. Not just in our heads, Emily replied, her scientific curiosity overtaking her fear. They were accessing our collective memories, our experiences. It's as if they were sampling us. Before I could respond, that now familiar alien presence filled our minds once more. We have observed, the gardeners announced. We have analyzed. Prepare yourselves, humans. The trial begins now. As the presence faded, I looked around at my team. Fear was evident in their eyes, but so was determination. Whatever test the gardeners had in store for us, we would face it together. All right, people, I said, squaring my shoulders. You heard them. Let's go show these cosmic judges what humanity is really made of. As we prepared to face our ultimate trial, I couldn't help but wonder, in our quest to save our world, had we inadvertently proven ourselves worthy of a place among the stars? Or had we merely delayed the inevitable judgment of forces beyond our comprehension? One thing was certain, the next few hours would determine the fate of not just our species, but of the entire experiment that was life on Earth. And we were as ready as we'd ever be. The world around us shimmered and shifted, reality itself seeming to bend and warp. When it settled, we found ourselves in a vast, circular chamber that defied conventional physics. The walls, if you could call them that, pulsed with ethereal light, and the floor beneath our feet felt both solid and insubstantial at the same time. My team huddled close, their faces a mixture of awe and apprehension. I did a quick head count. Emily, Volkov, Garcia, and a handful of others had made the transition with me. The rest, I hoped, were safe back at our base. Before us stood, or perhaps floated, three beings that I assumed were the gardeners. They were vaguely humanoid in shape, but their bodies seemed to be composed of pure energy, constantly shifting and reforming. Looking at them directly was like staring into the heart of a star. Humans, the central figure spoke, its voice resonating in our minds. You stand accused of wielding forces beyond your comprehension, of disrupting the cosmic order. How do you plead? I stepped forward, fighting the urge to shrink back from these godlike entities. We plead survival, I said, my voice steadier than I felt. Everything we've done to protect our world, our species. The gardener to the left shifted, its form rippling with what I interpreted as curiosity. You speak of protection, yet you have fundamentally altered your planet's biosphere. Countless species, unique in the cosmos, have been erased by your actions. The accusation hit hard. In our desperate bid to save humanity, had we doomed countless other Earth species to extinction? But Emily stepped up beside me, her scientific mind already formulating a counter-argument. With all due respect, she said, her voice trembling slightly but growing stronger as she spoke. Our actions have also given rise to new species, new forms of life adapted to our transformed world. We didn't destroy Earth's biodiversity, we catalyzed its evolution. The gardeners conferred silently for a moment, their energy forms intertwining in a dance of light and color. The rightmost being spoke next. You wield the terraforming technology of the Zar'kali, a species known for their conquest and destruction of worlds. How can we trust that you will not follow the same path? This time, it was Volkov who answered. We fought the Zar'kali, he growled, his accent thicker with emotion. We bled, we died, to protect our world from their ambitions. We used their technology out of desperation, yes, but we turned it to creation, not destruction. I nodded, building on his point. We're not the Zar'kali. We don't seek to conquer or destroy. All we want is the chance to thrive on our own world, to explore our potential. The central gardener's form pulsed, and I felt a pressure in my mind. "Show us," it commanded. "Show us your potential." Suddenly, the chamber around us transformed. We were standing in the midst of human history, flashes of our greatest achievements and our darkest moments playing out around us like a cosmic film reel. I saw the pyramids rising from the desert sands, heard the first notes of Beethoven's symphonies, felt the rumble of rockets launching towards the stars. But I also witnessed wars, plagues, the destruction of nature in the name of progress. "This is who we are," I said, my voice thick with emotion. "The good and the bad, the noble and the terrible. We're not perfect, but we're always striving to be better, to learn, to grow." The images shifted again, showing our recent struggles against the Zar'kali, our desperate gambit with a terraforming technology, and our subsequent efforts to understand and adapt to our changed world. "Look at what we've accomplished in just a few months," Emily interjected. "We've cataloged hundreds of new species, developed new sustainable technologies, even begun to physically adapt to our new environment. Given time, who knows what we might achieve?" The gardeners were silent for a long moment, their forms undulating in what I hoped was contemplation rather than anger. Finally, the central being spoke. "You have shown great potential, humans, but potential for good and for ill. The power you now wield could reshape worlds or destroy them. How can we be certain you will use it wisely?" I took a deep breath, knowing that our fate might hinge on my next words. "You can't be certain," I admitted. "No more than we can be certain of our own future. But isn't that true of all life? The potential for growth, for change. Isn't that what makes the universe interesting?" I gestured to my team, to the images of human history still swirling around us. "We're Deathworlders. We've survived everything our planet has thrown at us, and now we've survived an alien invasion. Give us a chance, and I promise you, we'll surprise you. We'll make mistakes, yes, but we'll learn from them. We'll create wonders you've never imagined." As I fell silent, I could feel the weight of the moment pressing down on us. The gardeners conferred once more, their energy forms merging and separating in a dazzling display. Then, slowly, the central being turned back to us. "Humans," it intoned, "we have reached our decision." The chamber fell into an eerie silence, the kind that seems to stretch time itself. I could hear my own heartbeat thundering in my ears, feel the tension radiating from my team. This was it, the moment that would decide the fate of our entire species. "Humans," the central gardener repeated, its voice reverberating through our minds. "Your actions have indeed disrupted the cosmic order. You have wielded power beyond your full comprehension and irreversibly altered the course of your planet's evolution." I felt my heart sink. This didn't sound like the beginning of a favorable judgment. However, the being continued, and I allowed myself a glimmer of hope. "We have observed your adaptability, your resilience, and your potential for growth. These are rare and valuable traits in the grand tapestry of the cosmos." The gardener to the left spoke next, its form shimmering with what I interpreted as curiosity. "Your species presents a unique paradox. You possess the capacity for great destruction, yet also for remarkable creation. You have nearly destroyed your world multiple times, yet you have also nurtured art, music, and ideas that resonate across the universe. In light of this," the right gardener added, "we have decided not to reset your world." A collective sigh of relief swept through our group. I felt as if a massive weight had been lifted from my shoulders, but I knew better than to celebrate too soon. "However," the central gardener's voice cut through our moment of relief, "this decision comes with conditions." Of course it did. Nothing in life, or apparently, in cosmic judgment, comes without strings attached. "Speak," I said, squaring my shoulders. "What are your terms?" The three gardeners moved in unison, their energy forms intertwining in a complex dance. When they spoke again, it was with one voice. "First, you will be tasked with stewarding the new ecosystem you have created. You must nurture it, study it, and ensure its balance. This includes the evolved Zar'kali. They are now as much a part of your world as you are." I nodded. It was a daunting task, but one we had already committed ourselves to. "Second, you will be granted limited access to the knowledge of terraforming. You may use it to maintain your world's new balance, but not to reshape other planets. Not yet." That "not yet" sent a thrill through me. It hinted at future possibilities at a time when humanity might be trusted with even greater power. "Finally," the gardeners continued, "you will serve as a case study for young species wielding advanced technology. Other civilizations will observe your progress, learn from your successes and failures." Great. We were going to be the universe's laboratory rats. But considering the alternative, I wasn't about to complain. "We accept these terms," I said, hoping I wasn't overstepping my authority. But a quick glance at my team showed nods of agreement. The gardeners' forms pulsed with approval. "Then it is decided. Go forth, humans. Shape your destiny among the stars. But remember, we will be watching." With those words, the cosmic courtroom began to fade. Reality shifted and warped around us once more. When it settled, we found ourselves back in our command center as if we had never left. For a moment, we all stood in stunned silence, trying to process what had just happened. Then, slowly, grins began to spread across faces. Volkov let out a whoop of joy, clapping me on the back hard enough to stagger me. "We did it, Captain," Garcia exclaimed, her eyes shining with a mixture of relief and excitement. "We actually did it." I allowed myself a small smile. We did. But our work is just beginning. Emily was already at her console, fingers flying over the keys. "The data we've gathered from this encounter, it's going to revolutionize every field of science we know, and probably create a few new ones." As the initial euphoria began to settle, I felt the weight of responsibility settling on my shoulders once more. We had been given a second chance, not just to survive, but to thrive, to become something more than we ever imagined. I moved to the center of the room, clearing my throat to get everyone's attention. "All right, listen up," I began, my voice carrying the authority of someone who had just faced down cosmic judges and lived to tell the tale. "We've been given an opportunity here, but also a huge responsibility. The gardeners, the universe itself, is watching us now. It's time to show them what humanity is really capable of." As I looked at the determined faces of my team, I felt a surge of pride and hope. We had faced alien invasion, transformed our planet, and now stood on the threshold of a new era for our species. Whatever challenges lay ahead, I knew one thing for certain: we would face them as we always had, with courage, ingenuity, and the unbreakable spirit of Deathworlders. The next chapter in Earth's story was about to begin, and we were ready to write it. The days following our encounter with the gardeners were a whirlwind of activity. News of our cosmic trial spread rapidly, uniting humanity in a way I'd never seen before. Former enemies became allies, pooling resources and knowledge as we grappled with our new reality. I found myself in endless meetings, coordinating global efforts to understand and manage our transformed ecosystem. It was exhausting work, but exhilarating too. For the first time since the Zar'kali invasion, we were working towards something greater than mere survival. One morning, about a week after the gardener's departure, I stood on the observation deck of our repurposed Zar'kali base, watching the sunrise over our new world. The sky was a riot of colors I still couldn't name, and in the distance, I could see herds of newly evolved creatures grazing on iridescent vegetation. Quite a view, isn't it? I turned to see Volkov approaching, 2 steaming mugs in his hands. He offered one to me, and I accepted gratefully. "That it is," I agreed, taking a sip. The liquid was bitter and sharp, a poor substitute for coffee, but the best our new flora could provide. "Sometimes I still can't believe this is Earth." Volkov nodded, his eyes scanning the horizon. "You know, my grandfather used to tell stories about the old forests in Siberia. How they seemed to go on forever, full of mystery and danger. I always thought he was exaggerating." He gestured at the alien landscape before us. Now I think I understand what he meant. We stood in companionable silence for a moment, each lost in our own thoughts. Then Volkov spoke again, his voice uncharacteristically serious. "Jack, have you given any thought to what comes next? For us, I mean, the soldiers, the fighters." I sighed, running a hand through my hair. It was a question that had been nagging at me too. "Honestly, I'm not sure. The world needs protectors more than ever, but the nature of the threat has changed. We're not just fighting against something anymore. We're fighting for something." Volkov grunted in agreement. "Reminds me of something my old drill sergeant used to say. It's easy to be a warrior in times of war. The real challenge is being a guardian in times of peace." His words struck a chord. Guardian. That's what we needed to become now. Guardians of this new earth, of the delicate balance we'd been tasked with maintaining. Our conversation was interrupted by the arrival of Garcia, her face flushed with excitement. "Captain, you need to see this. We've made contact with one of the evolved Zar'kali groups." My pulse quickened. We'd known the Zar'kali survivors were out there, adapting just as we were, but this was our first direct contact since the transformation. "Hostile?" I asked, already moving towards the command center. Garcia shook her head. "No, sir. If anything, they seem curious, peaceful, even." The command center was a hive of activity when we arrived. Emily was there, poring over data streams with a look of intense concentration. "What have we got, Doc?" I asked, peering at the main screen. It showed a group of beings that were unmistakably Zar'kali in origin, but so changed that they were barely recognizable. Their once fearsome battle armor had been repurposed into something more akin to an exoskeleton, with vine-like growths intertwining through it. Emily looked up, her eyes bright with scientific excitement. "It's remarkable, Jack. Their physiology has adapted to work in symbiosis with the new plant life. And their behavior, it's like they're a completely different species." "They're trying to communicate," Garcia added, manipulating the controls to enhance the audio. A series of clicks and whistles filled the room, the Zar'kali language, but altered, softer somehow. As we watched, one of the creatures stepped forward. It raised a limb in what was unmistakably a gesture of peace, then began to trace patterns in the soil. Emily gasped. "Those aren't random marks. They're mathematical equations, universal constants." I felt a chill run down my spine. This wasn't just communication, it was an invitation. The evolved Zar'kali were reaching out, offering to share knowledge. "Well," Volkov said, a hint of his old grin returning, "I guess the gardeners were right. We really are all in this together now." I nodded, my mind racing with the implications. This was an opportunity, but also a risk. Could we trust these beings, so recently our mortal enemies? But then again, hadn't we all been changed by the transformation of our world? "All right," I said, making a decision. "Garcia, prep a team for a meet and greet. Non-threatening, but be prepared for anything. Emily, I want you there. We're going to need your expertise to understand what they're trying to tell us." As my team sprang into action, I couldn't help but feel a sense of wonder. Just weeks ago, we'd been locked in a desperate struggle for survival. Now, we were about to embark on a mission of peace and scientific exchange with a species we'd once thought of only as invaders. This, I realized, was what the gardeners had seen in us. The capacity to adapt, to grow, to turn enemies into allies. As we prepared for this historic meeting, I allowed myself to hope that maybe, just maybe, we were on the right path after all. The next chapter in Earth's story was unfolding before our eyes, and it promised to be more extraordinary than anything we could have imagined. The journey to the Zar'kali encampment was surreal. We traveled in one of our adapted vehicles, a hybrid of human engineering and salvaged alien tech, gliding silently over terrain that still took my breath away. Massive ferns with bioluminescent fronds lined our path, their gentle glow providing natural in the perpetual twilight of the new Earth's longer days. Our team was small but diverse: myself, Emily, Garcia, and a handful of our best scientists and security personnel. We debated long and hard about the composition of this first contact group, balancing the need for scientific expertise with caution. As we approached the coordinates, I felt a familiar tension building in my gut. It was the same feeling I'd had before every major engagement with the Zar'kali during the war. But this time, it was tinged with something new, hope. "There," Garcia said, pointing to a clearing ahead. "I've got visual on the Zar'kali group." I peered through the view screen, my breath catching in my throat. The evolved Zar'kali were even more impressive up close. Their once menacing forms had been softened, organic growths intertwining with what remained of their technological components. They moved with a fluid grace that seemed impossible for creatures of their size. "Remarkable," Emily breathed, her scientific curiosity overtaking any lingering fear. "Their biology has integrated elements of our new flora. It's as if they've become living embodiments of the symbiosis between old and new Earth." As our vehicle came to a stop at the edge of the clearing, I took a deep breath. "All right, people. Remember, we're here to learn and to establish peaceful contact. Stay alert, but non-threatening. Let's show them the best of humanity." We exited the vehicle slowly, our hands clearly visible. The Zar'kali watched us with what I could only interpret as curiosity, their compound eyes reflecting the bioluminescent light around us. One of them, slightly larger than the others and adorned with intricate patterns of light pulsing across its exoskeleton, stepped forward. It made a series of clicks and whistles, then began to trace patterns in the soil as we'd seen before. Emily knelt down, studying the markings intently. It's a molecular structure," she said, her voice filled with awe. "But not just any structure. This is the base component of the terraforming technology." I felt a chill run down my spine. Are they offering to share their knowledge of the tech? Before Emily could respond, the lead Zar'kali made another series of sounds. To my shock, I realized I could almost understand them. It was as if the language was on the edge of my comprehension, tantalizingly close to making sense. Garcia noticed my reaction. "Sir, what is it?" I shook my head, trying to clear it. "I'm not sure. It's like I can almost understand them. But that's impossible, isn't it?" Emily looked up from the markings, her eyes wide. "Maybe not. Remember, the terraforming technology changed us too. We've been adapting to this new world just like they have. It's possible we're developing new cognitive abilities as a result." As if to confirm her theory, the Zar'kali leader spoke again. This time, I caught fragments of meaning. Peace, learn, grow together. Swallowing hard, I decided to take a risk. I stepped forward, mirroring the Zar'kali's earlier gesture of peace. Then, drawing on instincts I didn't fully understand, I began to speak in a mixture of words and sounds that felt right somehow. "We come in peace," I said. "To learn, to grow, together." The effect was immediate. The Zar'kali's bioluminescent patterns pulsed with what I sensed was excitement and approval. The leader stepped closer, extending a tendril-like appendage towards me. Holding my breath, I reached out and made contact. The moment our hands touched, my mind exploded with sensation. Images, feelings, and knowledge flooded through me. The history of the Zar'kali, their desperate search for a new home, the horror they felt when they realized what their actions were doing to Earth. And underlying it all, a profound sense of regret and a desperate hope for redemption. When the connection broke, I staggered back, overwhelmed. Garcia steadied me, concern etched on her face. "Captain, are you all right?" I nodded, still processing what I'd experienced. "I'm fine. Better than fine, actually. I think I understand now." Turning to the team, I saw a mixture of awe and apprehension on their faces. I knew what I was about to say would change everything, but I also knew it was the right thing to do. Listen up, everyone. We didn't just come here to establish contact or to learn. We came here to forge an alliance. The Zar'kali, the evolved Zar'kali, they want to help us, to work with us in stewarding this new Earth. Emily's eyes widened as she grasped the implications. With their knowledge of the terraforming tech and our adaptability, we could do more than just maintain the balance, I finished. We could thrive. evolve, become something greater than either of our species ever imagined. As my words sank in, I saw the dawning realization on my team's faces. This wasn't just first contact. This was the beginning of a new chapter for both our species, a chance to rewrite the story of our world together. Looking back at the Zar'kali leader, I saw a reflection of our own hope and determination. Whatever challenges lay ahead, we would face them not as former enemies, but as allies, as fellow children of a reborn Earth. The real work was just beginning. But for the first time since the gardener's judgment, I felt truly optimistic about our future. We had been given a second chance, and we were going to make the most of it. Together. The weeks following our first contact with the evolved Zar'kali were a whirlwind of activity and discovery. Our base became a hub of interspecies cooperation, with humans and Zar'kali working side by side to unlock the secrets of our transformed world. I found myself spending long hours in what we dubbed the Symbiosis Lab, a vast chamber filled with a bewildering array of hybrid technology. Emily and her team of scientists worked tirelessly alongside their Zar'kali counterparts, their excitement palpable as they made breakthrough after breakthrough. One morning, as I entered the lab for my daily briefing, I was struck by the sight before me. A human scientist and a Zar'kali were hunched over a holographic display, communicating in a mixture of words, clicks, and gestures that would have been incomprehensible just a short time ago. It was a powerful reminder of how far we'd come. "Captain," Emily called out, waving me over to her station. "You're going to want to see this." I made my way through the controlled chaos of the lab, nodding to team members both human and Zar'kali as I passed. When I reached Emily, I was surprised to see Volkov there as well, his face uncharacteristically serious. "What have you got for me, Doc?" I asked, eyeing the complex data streams on her screen. Emily's eyes were bright with a mixture of excitement and concern. "We've made a significant breakthrough in understanding the terraforming technology. It's more than we ever imagined." She manipulated the display, bringing up a three-dimensional model of what looked like a DNA strand, but far more complex than anything I'd seen before. "This is the core component of the terraforming tech," she explained. "It's not just a tool for reshaping environments. It's a fundamental building block of life itself." Volkov leaned in, his brow furrowed. "Are you saying this thing created all the new life forms we've been seeing?" Emily shook her head. "Not exactly. It didn't create them from scratch. Instead, it guided their evolution, accelerated it, and it's still doing it." The implications hit me like a physical blow. "You mean we're still evolving? All of us?" "Precisely," Emily confirmed. "Humans, Zar'kali, every living thing on this new Earth. We're all part of an ongoing evolutionary process. And here's the kicker, we can influence it." She brought up another display, this one showing a series of simulations. "With our growing understanding of the technology, we could theoretically guide the direction of our own evolution, adapt ourselves to better suit this new world, or even adapt the world to better suit us," I finished, the enormity of the idea settling over me like a weight. Volkov whistled low. That's playing God, isn't it? Isn't that exactly what got us in trouble with the gardeners in the first place?" I nodded, the same concern running through my mind. "It's a valid point. But remember, the gardeners didn't tell us not to use the technology. They told us to be responsible stewards of it." Emily nodded eagerly. "Exactly. And with the Zar'kali's help, we're learning to use it in ways that work with nature, not against it. We could solve problems that have plagued humanity for centuries: disease, food shortages, environmental degradation." As tempting as it sounded, I couldn't shake a feeling of unease. What about unintended consequences? We've already seen how one change can have far-reaching effects we couldn't predict. "That's why we need to proceed carefully," Emily agreed. "But Jack, think of the possibilities. We could create a true symbiosis between all life on Earth. Not just coexistence, but a deep, fundamental interconnection." I was about to respond when an alarm blared through the lab. Garcia's voice came over the comm system, tense and urgent. "Captain, we've got a situation. Long-range sensors are picking up an unknown object entering the solar system. It's big." My heart raced as I shared a look with Volkov and Emily. Another alien arrival, or something else entirely? "I'm on my way," I replied, already moving towards the exit. "Emily, keep working on this. We may need it sooner than we thought." As I hurried to the command center, my mind whirled with possibilities. We'd been so focused on adapting to our new Earth that we'd almost forgotten about the wider universe out there. The gardeners had said we'd be watched, studied. Was this a test, a threat, or something we couldn't even imagine? One thing was certain: whatever was coming, it would put our newfound alliance and evolving capabilities to the test. The next chapter of our story was about to unfold, and I had a feeling it would be the most challenging yet. As I entered the command center, the tension in the air was palpable. On the main screen, a blip of light marked the approach of the unknown object. It was time to see if we'd learned enough, evolved enough, to face whatever the cosmos had in store for us next. I took a deep breath, steeling myself for what was to come. "All right, people, let's show the universe what the children of New Earth can do." The command center hummed with nervous energy as we tracked the approaching object. Garcia's fingers flew over her console, coaxing every bit of data from our hybrid human Zar'kali sensors. "Report," I barked, my eyes fixed on the main display. Garcia's voice was tense but professional. "Object is approximately the size of a small moon, sir. Composition: unknown. Our sensors can't seem to get a solid read on it." Volkov, who had followed me from the lab, leaned in to study the readout. "Could it be some kind of stealth technology?" I shook my head. "Or something so advanced it might as well be magic to us." I turned to our communication officer. "Any response to our hails?" "Negative, sir. We've broadcast on all known frequencies, including the ones the gardeners used. Nothing but silence." A chill ran down my spine. Silence could mean many things, none of them particularly comforting. "How long until it reaches Earth orbit?" I asked. "At current velocity, approximately 6 hours, Garcia replied. 6 hours. Not much time to prepare for a potential threat we knew nothing about. But it would have to be enough. "All right, listen up," I said, raising my voice to address the entire room. "I want every scrap of data we have on this thing analyzed. Work with our Zar'kali allies. Their perspective might give us insights we're missing. And get me a secure line to the other major Earth bases. We need to coordinate our response, whatever that ends up being." As the team sprang into action, Emily burst into the command center, her face flushed with excitement. "Jack, we've had a breakthrough." "Kind of busy here, Doc," I replied, gesturing to the looming crisis on our screens. She shook her head impatiently. "This is related. We've figured out how to use the terraforming tech to boost our sensory capabilities. If we can integrate it with our sensor array, we might be able to get a better read on that object." I felt a surge of hope. "Do it. How long?" Emily's face fell slightly. "That's the catch. We need at least 12 hours to safely implement the changes." "We've got 6, I said grimly. Volkov stepped forward, a determined glint in his eye. "Then we'll do it in 6. It'll be risky, but when has that ever stopped us?" I nodded, making a quick decision. "Okay. Emily, you and your team get to work on the integration. Garcia, coordinate with our defensive forces. I want every weapon we've got ready to deploy at a moment's notice. Volkov, you're with me." "Where are we going, Captain?" he asked as we strode out of the command center. "To talk to our Zar'kali allies," I replied. "If this thing is hostile, we're going to need every advantage we can get." The next few hours were a blur of frenetic activity. I shuttled between the command center, the labs, and our makeshift diplomatic quarters, trying to coordinate a response to a threat we could barely comprehend. The Zar'kali, to their credit, threw themselves into the effort with as much determination as any human. Their evolved forms, more in tune with the new Earth's ecosystem, provided insights that proved invaluable. As the deadline approached, I found myself back in the command center, watching the final preparations unfold. Emily and her team had worked miracles, integrating the terraforming tech into our sensors in record time. It was untested, potentially dangerous, but it was the best shot we had. 1 hour to contact, Garcia announced, her voice tight with tension. I took a deep breath, steeling myself for what was to come. Activate the enhanced sensors. Let's see what we're dealing with. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, the main screen exploded with data, a cascade of information that overwhelmed our systems. As the computer struggled to interpret the flood of new sensory input, a shape began to form on the screen. It wasn't a ship or a station or anything we'd expected. It was alive. A vast, space-borne organism, pulsing with energy that defied our understanding of physics. My God, Emily breathed, her eyes wide with wonder. It's beautiful. As we watched in awe, the creature, for lack of a better term, began to change course. It was heading directly for Earth, picking up speed. Volkov's hand went to his weapon instinctively. Orders, Captain? I hesitated, my mind racing. This wasn't an invasion force or a diplomatic mission. This was something entirely new, perhaps drawn by the massive changes we'd made to our world. In that moment, I realized that this was exactly the kind of situation the gardeners had prepared us for. We weren't just facing a potential threat. We were facing the unknown, the truly alien. Stand down weapons, I said, my voice steady despite the pounding of my heart. Broadcast a welcome message on all frequencies, and open the roof of the command center. Garcia looked at me like I'd lost my mind. Sir? I managed a small smile. If this thing wanted to harm us, I doubt our roof would stop it. But if it's come in peace, let's greet it properly, as the guardians of New Earth. As the roof retracted, exposing us to the star-studded sky, I felt a mix of fear and exhilaration. Whatever was about to happen would change us forever. But isn't that what we'd been preparing for all along? The massive form of the space-borne creature filled our view, blocking out the stars, and as it descended towards us, I realized that our journey, humanity's journey, was far from over. It was, in fact, just beginning. The air crackled with tension as the massive entity descended towards our exposed command center. Its form shimmered and shifted, defying our eyes' attempts to define its shape. Colors we had no names for rippled across its surface, and the very air seemed to vibrate with its presence. Steady, I called out, my voice barely audible over the thrumming energy that filled the room. Hold your positions. Beside me, Volkov's hand hovered near his weapon, his face a mask of determined calm. Emily stood transfixed, her scientific curiosity overriding any fear. Garcia monitored her instruments, though I doubted any of our technology could truly comprehend what we were witnessing. As the creature drew closer, I felt a familiar sensation building in my mind, similar to when the gardeners had communicated with us, but somehow different, more primal, more direct. Suddenly, a tendril of energy extended from the main mass, reaching towards us. I stepped forward, ignoring the gasps and warnings from my team. Something told me this was a moment of truth, a test we couldn't afford to fail. The tendril touched my forehead, and the world exploded into light and sensation. I was everywhere and nowhere, experiencing the cosmos from perspectives I couldn't begin to comprehend. I saw the birth and death of stars, the dance of galaxies, the intricate web of life that connected every corner of the universe. And through it all, I felt the presence of the entity, ancient, wise, and unimaginably alien. It spoke, not in words, but in concepts that bloomed directly in my mind. Seekers, shapers, children of the crucible. Images flashed through my consciousness. Earth as it was, Earth as we'd made it, and countless possible futures branching out before us. You have taken the first steps. You have embraced change. You have begun to see beyond yourselves. I understood then. This being wasn't a threat or even a judge. It was a teacher? A guide? Gathering my courage, I focused my thoughts, trying to communicate back. We are ready to learn, I projected, hoping I was doing this right. To grow. To understand our place in the universe. A sense of approval washed over me, followed by a flood of knowledge. I saw the true nature of the terraforming technology, not just a tool for reshaping worlds, but a key to unlocking the fundamental forces of life and evolution. I glimpsed secrets of physics, biology, and cosmology that made our most advanced theories look like a child's crayon drawings. But with this knowledge came a warning. Images of worlds burning, of species consumed by their own ambition, of the delicate balance of the cosmos disrupted by careless use of power. The path is long, the entity conveyed. The responsibility, great. Are you prepared? In that moment, I saw our future laid out before us. The challenges we would face, the wonders we would discover, the hard choices we would have to make. I saw humanity spreading to the stars, not as conquerors, but as stewards and partners in a grand cosmic dance. I responded, filling my thoughts with all the determination, hope, and resilience that had brought us this far. The connection began to fade, the cosmic visions receding. But before it ended, I felt one last surge of emotion from the entity. Not quite approval, not quite pride, but something akin to both. Then rise, children of New Earth. Your journey begins anew. I gasped as awareness of my physical surroundings rushed back. I was on my knees, my team gathered around me with looks of concern and awe on their faces. Above us, the entity was already beginning to ascend, its form shimmering as it prepared to return to the depths of space. "Captain," Garcia's voice was tentative. "Are you all right? What happened?" I stood slowly, my mind reeling from the experience, but filled with a new sense of purpose and understanding. "We've been given a gift," I said, my voice hoarse but strong, "and a responsibility." Over the next few hours, I shared what I had learned with my team, with our Zar'kali allies, and with the leaders of Earth's scattered communities. The knowledge the entity had imparted would take generations to fully understand, but its message was clear. We were no longer alone in the cosmos, and our actions would have consequences far beyond our world. As the sun rose on a new day, I stood with my team, human and Zar'kali alike, watching the first light paint our transformed world in hues of gold and green. "So," Volkov said, breaking the contemplative silence. "What now, Captain?" I smiled, feeling the weight of our new purpose settle on my shoulders. It was a heavy burden, but one I was proud to bear. "Now," I replied, "we get to work. We've got a planet to rebuild, a civilization to reimagine, and a universe to explore." Emily nodded eagerly. "The scientific possibilities alone are staggering. With what we've learned, we could revolutionize every field of study. And we'll need to establish new protocols for interstellar relations," Garcia added. "We're part of a larger community now, whether we're ready or not." I looked at each of them in turn, these brave souls who had fought alongside me, who had faced the end of the world and helped forge a new beginning. "It won't be easy," I said. "We'll face challenges we can't even imagine yet. But that's what we do, isn't it? We adapt. We overcome. We grow." As if in response to my words, a flock of newly evolved birds took flight from a nearby tree, their iridescent wings catching the sunlight. They soared overhead in a dazzling display of aerial acrobatics, a living symbol of the wonders our new world held. "Together," I continued, "we'll write the next chapter of our story. Not just as humans, not just as Zar'kali, but as the children of New Earth. As guardians of life and catalysts of evolution." The horizon beckoned, filled with promise and challenge in equal measure. We had been forged in frost and fire, tempered by invasion and transformation. Now, we stood ready to take our place among the stars. Our journey as Deathworlders had prepared us for this moment. Our experiences had taught us resilience, adaptability, and the strength found in unity. Now, those lessons would guide us as we stepped into a larger, more wondrous universe than we had ever dreamed possible. The frost had thawed. The fires had tempered us. And now, from the echoes of Eden, A new symphony of life was ready to begin. With one last look at my team, my friends, my family in all but blood, I squared my shoulders and faced the rising sun. "Let's get to it," I said. "We've got a universe to explore." And with that, we turned towards our future, ready to face whatever wonders and challenges awaited us among the stars. The end, and a new beginning. Chapter 3. The starship Novus Terra hung in orbit around a world that shimmered like an opal against the backdrop of space. Even after 5 years of preparation, the sight of an alien planet still took my breath away. I am Captain Jack Frost, and I never thought I'd find myself here, light years from Earth, leading humanity's first interstellar expedition. But life has a way of taking unexpected turns, especially when you've helped reshape your home world and made first contact with a cosmic entity. Preliminary scans complete, Captain. Volkov's gruff voice broke through my reverie. My old friend had taken to space travel with surprising enthusiasm, proving that even hardened soldiers could adapt to new frontiers. I turned from the viewscreen, facing the bridge crew, a mix of humans and our Zar'kali allies. The latter had evolved even further during our journey, their bodies now a seamless blend of organic matter and bioluminescent tech that still amazed me. "What have we got?" I asked, moving to the central holo display. Emily, our chief scientist, manipulated the controls with a thought, another gift of our enhanced evolution. A three-dimensional model of the planet sprang to life. "It's extraordinary," she breathed, her eyes alight with scientific wonder. "The planet's composition is unlike anything we've seen. It seems to be in a constant state of flux, with energy patterns that defy our understanding of physics." I nodded, taking in the swirling colors and pulsing energy fields that crisscrossed the planet's surface. "Life signs?" Garcia, our sensor specialist, frowned at her readouts. "Inconclusive, sir. We're detecting massive energy fluctuations, but whether they're natural phenomena or signs of civilization, I can't say." A prickle of unease ran down my spine. We'd come here hoping to make peaceful contact with new alien races, to take our place in the galactic community, but something about this world felt off. "Recommendations?" I asked, looking around at my team. Volkov straightened, his cybernetic eye whirring as it analyzed the data. "We should send down a probe, get some closer readings before we consider a manned mission." I was about to agree when a sudden alarm blared through the bridge. The holo display flickered, the planet's image distorting. "Energy spike," Garcia shouted. "Massive buildup on the planet's surface." Before anyone could react, a beam of pure light shot from the planet, enveloping our ship in a dazzling aurora. For a moment, I thought we were under attack. But instead of damage, I felt a presence, vast, alien, and undeniably intelligent. "By the gardeners," one of the Zar'kali crew members clicked, their bioluminescent patterns pulsing with awe and fear. As we watched in stunned silence, the light coalesced into a form on our bridge, a being of pure energy, its body a constantly shifting pattern of radiance. When it spoke, the words bypassed our ears and materialized directly in our minds, reminiscent of our encounter with the cosmic entity years ago. "Greetings, travelers," the being of light intoned. "We are the light. You have entered a war zone. Prepare to be judged." The temperature on the bridge seemed to drop several degrees. War zone? Judged. This was not how I'd envisioned our first contact with a new alien race. As I stepped forward to address this light, movement caught my eye on the viewscreen. The opalescent surface of the planet was changing, dark veins spreading across its face like cracks in glass. Whatever was happening on that world below, I had a sinking feeling that our mission had just become far more complicated than we'd ever anticipated. The real test of humanity's place in the cosmos was about to begin. And as captain, it was my job to make sure we passed it. The bridge of the Novus Terra crackled with tension as we faced the luminous being. My mind raced, years of diplomatic training and hard-won experience coming to the fore. "We come in peace," I stated, projecting calm confidence. "I am Captain Jack Frost of Earth. We're on a mission of exploration and peaceful contact. The light's form flickered, its light dimming slightly. When it spoke again, I sensed a mixture of curiosity and suspicion. Earth? We know not of this world, yet you travel the stars? Curious. I was about to respond when the ship shuddered violently. Alarms blared as Garcia's fingers flew over her console. Captain, multiple energy signatures emerging from the planet's surface. They're pulling us in. The viewscreen showed tendrils of darkness reaching up from the planet, like grasping fingers of void. Where they touched the ship's hull, our systems flickered and failed. The light's form pulsed with what I interpreted as alarm. The Voidborn attack. You must not fall into their grasp, or all is lost. All hands, battle stations, I barked, falling back on old military instincts. Volkov, get our shields up. Emily, I need options. As the crew sprang into action, I turned back to the light. What are these Voidborn? What's happening on your world? The being of light seemed to hesitate, its form wavering. There is no time for full explanations. Know this, the Voidborn seek to unmake all that is. They are the antithesis of life and light. For millennia, we have held them at bay, but now. Another violent shudder ran through the ship. On the viewscreen, I watched in horror as patches of our hull began to disappear, consumed by the creeping darkness. Sir, Emily's voice was tense but controlled. I'm detecting similarities between these energy patterns and the terraforming technology. If we could adapt it, perhaps use it as a shield. It was a desperate gambit, but we were short on options. Do it, I ordered. As Emily and her team worked feverishly, interfacing with our Zar'kali crew members to modify our systems, I turned back to the light. We don't fully understand this conflict, but we want to help. Is there a way to break free of the Voidborn's grasp? The being's light intensified. You would aid us? After our threat of judgment? Truly, you are an unusual species. Let's just say we've had some experience with cosmic judgment, I replied, thinking back to our encounter with the gardeners. Now, about those Voidborn. There is a way, the light conceded, but it requires great risk. You must channel light energy through your vessel, burning away the Voidborn's touch. But too much, and your ship may not withstand the strain. I shared a look with Volkov, seeing the same grim determination in his eyes that I felt. Well, he said with a wry grin, we didn't come all this way to play it safe, did we? Emily, I called out, how close are we with that terraforming shield? We're ready, Captain, she replied. But I must warn you, integrating it with the light's light energy, it's untested, unpredictable. I took a deep breath, feeling the weight of command settle heavily on my shoulders. This was the moment that would define our expedition, perhaps even humanity's future among the stars. Sometimes, I said, recalling words spoken years ago on a transformed Earth, you have to roll the hard 6. Do it. As Emily activated the modified shields, the light began to glow with increasing intensity. Energy coursed through our ship, a blend of terraforming tech and alien light that made the very air hum with power. The effect was immediate and spectacular. Where the light touched the creeping void, it burned away like mist before the sun. But the strain on our systems was immense. Consoles sparked and alarms wailed as we pushed our ship to its limits and beyond. Hull integrity failing, Garcia shouted over the din. We can't take much more of this. Just when it seemed we might tear ourselves apart in our bid for freedom, there was a final, blinding flash. The viewscreen cleared, showing open space. We'd broken free of the planet's grasp. As the crew let out a ragged cheer, I turned to thank our luminous ally. But the light was fading, its form growing dim. You have proven yourselves worthy, it said, its mental voice growing faint. But the war is far from over. If you truly wish to help, come to the surface. Seek the Nexus. There, all will be revealed. With those cryptic words, the being of light vanished, leaving us alone on the bridge of our battered ship. I looked around at my team, humans and Zar'kali alike, seeing the mix of excitement and trepidation on their faces. We'd come seeking peaceful contact and scientific discovery. Instead, we'd found ourselves in the middle of a cosmic war that threatened the very fabric of reality. As I gave orders to stabilize the ship and prepare for possible surface exploration, I couldn't shake the feeling that we were on the precipice of something monumental. Whatever awaited us on that strange, opalescent world below would change us forever. The true test of humanity's place in the universe was about to begin. The descent to the planet's surface was a harrowing experience. Our ship, still reeling from the encounter with the Voidborn, creaked and groaned as we navigated through swirling energy fields that defied our understanding of physics. I stood in the shuttle bay with my chosen team: Volkov, ever reliable in a crisis; Emily, her enhanced mind already processing the flood of new data; and K-Rix, our Zar'kali engineer whose adaptive biology might prove crucial in this alien environment. "Final checks," I ordered, my voice steady despite the tension coiling in my gut. "Remember, we're heading into an active war zone between two species we barely understand. Stay alert, stay together." As we donned our environmental suits, a hybrid of human ingenuity and Zar'kali biotech, I couldn't help but reflect on the magnitude of what we were about to do. Humanity's first steps on an alien world, and we were walking into the middle of a cosmic conflict. The shuttle doors opened, revealing a landscape that took my breath away. The ground beneath our feet shifted and swirled with colors that shouldn't exist, while the sky above was a canvas of light and shadow locked in an eternal dance. "Remarkable," Emily breathed, her sensors already drinking in data. "The entire planet seems to be in a state of quantum flux. It's as if reality itself is unstable here." Volkov hefted his weapon, a modified energy rifle that looked almost primitive compared to our surroundings. "Let's hope we don't destabilize along with it," he muttered. We hadn't taken more than a few steps when the air around us shimmered, coalescing into the now familiar form of a light. "You came," it said, its mental voice tinged with what I interpreted as surprise and relief. "Few have shown such courage when faced with the Voidborn." "We're here to help," I replied, "but we need to understand what we're dealing with. What is this conflict really about?" The light's form pulsed, and suddenly the landscape around us changed. We were standing in what looked like a vast, multidimensional library, streams of pure information flowing around us. "Behold the Nexus," our guide intoned, "the repository of all knowledge in this sector of the galaxy. For eons, we light have been its guardians, using its wisdom to maintain balance in the cosmos." Images flashed before us, countless worlds teeming with life, civilizations rising and falling, the grand tapestry of the universe unfolding. "But the Voidborn seek to unravel this tapestry," the light continued. "They are beings of uncreation, entropy given form. If they gain control of the Nexus, they could rewrite the very laws of reality." The implications were staggering. This wasn't just a war for one planet, but for the fate of existence itself. "How can we help?" I asked, my mind reeling from the cosmic scale of the conflict. Before the light could answer, the air around us grew cold. Shadows deepened, taking on substance and form. Where moments ago there had been light and knowledge, now darkness crept in, hungry and malevolent. "They come!" The light's mental voice was tight with fear. "The Voidborn attack." As if in response to the words, a figure emerged from the encroaching shadows. It was humanoid in shape, but composed of what looked like living darkness, stars glittering in its depths like trapped fireflies. When it spoke, its voice was the whisper of dying stars, ancient and cold. "So, the light sent children to fight their wars now? How desperate they must be." I stepped forward, placing myself between my team and this being a void. "We're not children, and we're not here to fight. We came seeking understanding." The Voidborn tilted its head, starlight eyes regarding me with alien curiosity. "Understanding? Perhaps you are not as simple as you appear. Very well, Seeker. What would you understand?" I took a deep breath, acutely aware that I was talking to a being that could probably unmake me with a thought. "Why this war? Why seek to destroy the Nexus, to unmake reality? Destroy? The Voidborn's laughter was like the cracking of glaciers. You speak as the light do, in terms of preservation and destruction. We seek not to destroy, but to transform. To return the universe to its primal state of infinite possibility. As it spoke, the shadows around us shifted, showing visions of a cosmos unbound by the laws of physics, where thought and reality were one. The light would keep the universe static, trapped in amber, the Voidborn continued. We offer freedom, evolution beyond your wildest dreams. I felt a chill run down my spine. The offer was seductive, reminiscent of the power we tapped into when reshaping Earth. But at what cost? And the countless beings who would be unmade in this transformation, I asked. The Voidborn waved a starry hand dismissively. A small price for cosmic rebirth. I shared a look with my team, seeing my own mix of awe and horror reflected in their eyes. We had come seeking to understand, and now found ourselves at the crux of a conflict as old as the universe itself. As the light and Voidborn faced off, reality itself seeming to warp around us, I realized that our next actions would do more than determine the fate of this world. We were about to make a choice that could reshape the very fabric of existence. And as a representative of humanity, the burden of that choice fell squarely on my shoulders. The cosmic crucible was heating up, and we were caught right in the middle of it. The Nexus thrummed with tension, reality itself seeming to hold its breath as light and Voidborn faced off. My team and I stood at the fulcrum of cosmic forces beyond our comprehension, yet I couldn't shake the feeling that our actions here would tip the scales. "Captain," Volkov's gruff whisper broke through my thoughts. "What's our play here?" I took a deep breath, mind racing. We were explorers, not cosmic arbiters. Yet here we stood, poised to influence a conflict that spanned eons. We listen, I decided, addressing both my team and our alien hosts, adversaries. We came here to learn, to understand. So let's do that. Turning to the light, I asked, "You speak of preserving knowledge, maintaining balance, but at what cost? How many civilizations have stagnated under your watch, denied the chance to grow beyond your prescribed limits?" The being of light flickered, its mental voice tinged with what I interpreted as discomfort. Growth must be controlled, guided. Unfettered evolution leads to chaos. To beings like us, I interrupted, a hint of challenge in my voice. Humans and Zar'kali, who reshaped our world out of desperate necessity. The light's silence was telling. I turned to the Voidborn, its starry eyes regarding me with alien intensity. "And you speak of transformation, of unlimited potential, but at the cost of unmaking countless innocent lives. Is cosmic rebirth worth universal genocide?" The being of shadow rippled, stars swirling in its depths. "You cannot make an omelet without breaking eggs, as your kind might say. Creation and destruction are two sides of the same coin." Emily stepped forward, her scientific curiosity overriding her caution. "But surely there's a middle ground? A way to allow for growth and change without completely unraveling the fabric of reality." As she spoke, I noticed something extraordinary. The streams of information flowing through the Nexus began to shift, responding to her words. New patterns formed, showing possibilities neither light nor Voidborn had considered. "Look," I exclaimed, pointing to the swirling data. "Your conflict isn't binary. There are other paths, other options." K-Rix, our Zar'kali companion, clicked in excitement. "Yes, like our evolution on New Earth, we changed, adapted, but didn't lose our essence. Growth through synthesis, not destruction." The Nexus pulsed, the new ideas spreading like ripples in a cosmic pond. Both light and Voidborn seemed transfixed by the possibilities unfolding before them. This is unprecedented," the light whispered, its light brightening with what I hoped was hope. The Voidborn's form shifted, stars realigning. "Intriguing. A new paradigm, neither stasis nor entropy, but dynamic equilibrium." For a moment, I dared to hope we'd brokered a peace. But then reality itself seemed to shudder. The shadows deepened, the light dimmed, and I felt a presence that dwarfed even our godlike hosts. A voice that wasn't a voice, more like the concept of communication itself, filled the Nexus. Enough. The light and Voidborn recoiled, their forms diminishing in the face of this new power. With a start, I recognized the presence. It was similar to the cosmic entity we'd encountered on Earth, but vaster, more fundamental. "You have overstepped," the presence boomed. This conflict was a test, a crucible to forge new understanding. And now, interlopers threaten the balance. I stepped forward, heart pounding but voice steady. "We didn't come to interfere. We came to learn, to grow. Isn't that the point of your test?" The presence focused on me, and I felt the weight of eons pressing down. "You speak boldly, child of Earth, but do you understand the consequences of your actions here?" Images flooded my mind, timelines fracturing, realities colliding, the careful dance of cosmic forces thrown into chaos by our intervention. But along with these visions of potential destruction, I saw something else. Possibilities. New paths of evolution, of growth, sparked by the unique perspective we brought to this ancient conflict. Drawing on every ounce of courage and conviction I possessed, I addressed the cosmic presence. "We understand that change is risky, but it's also necessary. We are proof of that. Humanity and Zar'kali, former enemies now allies, reshaping our world and ourselves." I gestured to the Nexus, to the new patterns still swirling through its depths. "We've shown that there are alternatives to eternal conflict. Isn't that worth exploring?" For a moment that felt like eternity, the presence was silent. Then, slowly, I felt its attention shift, considering the new possibilities we'd inadvertently created. "Perhaps," it finally conceded, "there is wisdom in fresh perspectives. You have altered the parameters of the test, children of Earth. Now, you must bear the responsibility of your choices." As the presence began to fade, I felt the weight of its final words settle upon us. We had come seeking knowledge and peaceful contact. Instead, we'd stumbled into a cosmic crucible and emerged, changed, empowered, perhaps, but also burdened with a responsibility I was only beginning to grasp. I looked at my team, human, Zar'kali, and now something more, seeing the same mix of awe and determination in their eyes that I felt. Whatever came next, we would face it together. As explorers, as allies, as the new guardians of a cosmic balance, we were only starting to understand. The real journey, I realized, was just beginning. The Nexus pulsed with newfound energy as the cosmic presence faded, leaving us in a reality forever changed by our actions. The light and Voidborn, once locked in eternal conflict, now regarded each other with cautious curiosity. "What now, Captain?" Volkov asked, his voice steady but eyes wide with the weight of what we'd just experienced. Before I could respond, Emily gasped, her enhanced senses picking up on something the rest of us couldn't yet perceive. "The Nexus," she breathed, "it's evolving." As we watched, the streams of data swirling around us began to shift and merge. Where once there were distinct paths of light and shadow, now there formed intricate patterns of twilight, neither purely luminous nor completely void. The light's form flickered, its mental voice tinged with awe. "This is unprecedented. The knowledge, the very fabric of reality, it's restructuring itself." "Adaptation," K-Rex clicked, his Zar'kali biology resonating with the changes. "Like our world, but on a cosmic scale." I stepped forward, drawn to a particularly vibrant stream of data. As I reached out, not quite touching it, images flooded my mind. I saw countless worlds, teeming with life, both familiar and utterly alien. But more than that, I saw connections, a web of potential linking these diverse species and civilizations. "It's showing us possibilities," I said, my voice barely above a whisper. "Not just knowledge, but potential futures." The Voidborn, its form now speckled with points of light like a starry sky, moved closer. "You have opened a path we had not foreseen, humans. A way to evolve without total unmaking. And a way to preserve without stagnation," the light added, shadows now dancing at the edges of its radiant form. As the implications of what we'd done began to sink in, a new sense of purpose filled me. We had come seeking to establish humanity's place in the cosmos, and in doing so, we'd reshaped the very nature of cosmic balance. "Sir," Volkov said, a note of urgency in his voice. "What about Earth? The rest of our crew? If reality itself is changing?" His words snapped me back to our immediate responsibilities. We were still explorers, representatives of our world and species. "You're right," I nodded. "We need to report back, to prepare our people for what's coming." I turned to our alien hosts. "Will you let us leave? There's much we need to do." The Light and Voidborn exchanged a look that seemed to transcend physical gesture, a communication on a level I could only begin to comprehend. "Go," the Light said finally. "But know that in touching the Nexus, you have become part of it. Your world, your species, are now linked to this cosmic web in ways even we do not fully understand." The Voidborn's starry eyes fixed on me. "You will be needed again, Jack Frost. The balance you have helped create is new, fragile. It will require guardians." The weight of their words settled on my shoulders, a responsibility I had never sought but could not now deny. I looked at my team, human and Zar'kali, forever changed by this encounter, and saw in their eyes the same mix of trepidation and determination that I felt. "We'll be ready," I promised, straightening my back. "Humanity and Zar'kali, we've faced the end of our world before. We'll face this new beginning with the same courage." As we prepared to leave the Nexus, to return to our ship and the long journey home, I couldn't shake the feeling that this was more than just the end of our first interstellar mission. It was the dawn of a new era, not just for Earth, but for the entire cosmos. We had come seeking our place among the stars. Instead, we had helped forge a new cosmic order, one that would require all of our ingenuity, adaptability, and courage to navigate. As the familiar confines of our shuttle materialized around us, I took one last look at the swirling energies of the Nexus. Whatever challenges lay ahead, whatever wonders and terrors the universe had in store, I knew one thing for certain. The children of Earth were ready. Our crucible had forged us into something new, something that straddled the boundary between the physical and the cosmic. We were no longer just explorers or survivors. We were becoming guardians of a new cosmic balance, and our real work was just beginning. The journey back to Earth was a stark contrast to our outbound voyage. Where once excitement and anticipation had filled our ship, now a weighty silence permeated the corridors of the Novus Terra. Each of us grappled with the enormity of what we'd experienced and the responsibility we now carried. I spent long hours in my quarters, poring over the data we'd brought back from the Nexus. Emily had managed to download a fraction of its vast knowledge, and even that small portion was revolutionizing our understanding of the universe. A chime at my door broke through my concentration. "Enter," I called out, grateful for the distraction from my swirling thoughts. Volkov stepped in, his cybernetic eye whirring as it adjusted to the dim light. "Captain," he nodded, then hesitated. "Jack, we need to talk." I gestured for him to sit, noting the tension in his posture. "What's on your mind, old friend?" He took a deep breath. "It's the crew. There's unrest. The changes we've undergone, the knowledge we've gained. Some are calling it a blessing, others a curse. There's talk of whether we should even return to Earth." I leaned back, not entirely surprised. I'd sensed the undercurrents of anxiety and excitement running through the ship. "And what do you think, Volkov?" His human eye met mine, filled with a mix of wonder and concern. "I think we've opened Pandora's box, Jack. The power we now have access to. It's beyond anything we've ever dealt with. Part of me wants to find some remote planet and bury this knowledge where it can never be used." I nodded, understanding his fears. The temptation to reshape reality, to play God on a cosmic scale, was immense and terrifying. "But," Volkov continued, a hint of his old grin returning, "then I remember what we've already survived. The Zar'kali invasion, reshaping our world, judgment by cosmic entities. If any species can handle this responsibility, it's us Deathworlders, don't you think? His words echoed my own thoughts, bolstering my resolve. You're right, I said, standing up. It's time we address the crew. All of them. Within the hour, every member of our expedition, human and Zar'kali alike, was gathered in the ship's main hall. As I looked out at their faces, I saw the same mix of fear, excitement, and determination that I felt. We left Earth as explorers, I began, my voice carrying to every corner of the room. We return as something more. Guardians, tasked with shepherding not just our world, but our entire reality into a new era. I paused, letting the weight of those words sink in. I know many of you are afraid. The power we now have access to is beyond anything we've ever encountered. But remember this, we are the children of Earth, a world that forged us through fire and ice. We've faced extinction and emerged stronger. We've reshaped our planet and ourselves. Murmurs of agreement rippled through the crowd. I pressed on, feeling the energy in the room shift. The Light and Voidborn had been locked in their conflict for eons, unable to see beyond their own perspectives. But we showed them a new path. Because that's what humans do, we adapt. We find solutions where others see only problems. I gestured to our Zar'kali crew members. And we're not alone. Our former enemies are now our closest allies, proof that even the deepest divides can be bridged. K-Rick stepped forward, his bioluminescent patterns pulsing with emotion. The captain speaks truth, he clicked. Together, we have transcended our past limitations. We stand ready to face this new challenge. A cheer went up from both humans and Zar'kali. I felt a surge of pride and hope. When we return to Earth, I continued once the noise had died down, we'll face difficult decisions. The knowledge we carry could revolutionize our civilization overnight, but it could also tear us apart if misused. I took a deep breath, feeling the weight of my next words. That's why I'm asking each of you to take a vow. We are now the guardians of a cosmic balance we barely understand. We must use this power wisely, for the benefit of all life, not just our own species or world. As I looked out at the sea of faces, human, Zar'kali, and everything in between, I saw resolution hardening in their eyes. One by one, they stood, pledging their commitment to our new purpose. In that moment, I felt a shift. We were no longer just a crew, no longer merely representatives of our respective species. We had become something new, a brotherhood of cosmic guardians, forged in the crucible of our journey. As we turned our ship towards home, towards the challenges and wonders that awaited us, I couldn't help but feel a sense of anticipation. We had set out to find humanity's place among the stars. Instead, we had found our place in the very fabric of the cosmos. Whatever came next, we would face it together. As explorers, as guardians, as the shapers of a new cosmic destiny. The journey home was just the beginning. The familiar blue-green orb of Earth grew larger in our view screen as we approached. A sight that once filled me with simple joy now stirred a complex mix of emotions. Home, yes, but a home that would never be the same after what we'd experienced. Captain, Garcia called from her station. We're being hailed. It's the gardeners. A chill ran down my spine. The cosmic entities that had once judged our use of terraforming technology were reaching out before we'd even entered orbit. Had they sensed the changes in us? Were we about to face another trial? On screen, I ordered, straightening my uniform and squaring my shoulders. The view screen flickered, and the familiar yet alien visage of a gardener appeared. Its form seemed to shift and flow, defying easy description. Children of Earth, it intoned, its voice resonating in our minds rather than our ears. You have returned. Changed. I stepped forward, acutely aware of my crew's eyes upon me. We have, I acknowledged. Our mission led us to discoveries and responsibilities we never anticipated. The gardener's form pulsed, and I felt a gentle probe at the edges of my consciousness. Remembering our previous encounters, I lowered my mental barriers, allowing it to see the truth of our journey. For a long moment, there was silence. Then, to my surprise, the gardener's form brightened in what I could only interpret as approval. "You have exceeded our expectations," it said. "Where we saw only the potential for destruction in your wielding of cosmic forces, you have found a path to balance. The Nexus has chosen wisely in linking itself to your world." Relief washed over me, but it was quickly tempered by caution. "Then you're not here to reset things? To judge us again?" The gardener's mental voice held a note of what might have been amusement. "No, Jack Frost. We are here to welcome you to a larger community. Your actions have rippled across the cosmos, opening new possibilities even we had not foreseen." As it spoke, the viewscreen expanded, showing not just Earth, but a vast swath of the galaxy. Points of light pulsed across it, each representing a civilization or cosmic nexus point. "You and your kind now stand at a crossroads," the gardener continued. "The knowledge and power you have gained come with great responsibility. How you choose to wield it will shape not just your world, but the very fabric of reality." I felt the weight of those words settle on my shoulders, a burden I never could have imagined when we first set out among the stars. But as I looked around at my crew, human, Zar'kali, and everything in between, I saw in their eyes the same determination I felt. "We understand," I said, my voice steady. "We've pledged ourselves to be guardians of this new cosmic balance. We won't let you down." The gardener's form shimmered. "See that you don't. The path ahead is fraught with challenges, but also with wonders beyond your imagining. Go now, prepare your world for its new role in the cosmos. We will be watching, as always, but no longer as judges. Now, we watch as colleagues." With that, the gardener's image faded, leaving us staring at the beautiful blue marble of our home. For a moment, the bridge was silent. Then Volkov let out a low whistle. "Well, Captain, I'd say that beats any welcome home party I've ever had." A ripple of laughter broke the tension, and I felt a smile tugging at my own lips. "All right, people. You heard the cosmic entity. We've got work to do. Let's take her in." As we began our descent towards Earth, I couldn't help but reflect on how far we'd come. We'd left our world as explorers, seeking our place among the stars. We returned as guardians, tasked with shepherding not just our planet, but reality itself into a new era. The challenges ahead were daunting. We'd have to share our discoveries with the rest of humanity and our Zar'kali allies. We'd need to prepare Earth for its new role as a cosmic nexus point, and we'd have to navigate the treacherous waters of wielding power that could reshape the very fabric of existence. But as I watched my crew work, saw the determination and hope in their eyes, I felt a surge of confidence. We were Deathworlders, forged in the crucible of a harsh planet and tempered by cosmic fires. If any species could handle this responsibility, it was us. Our journey among the stars had changed us, had changed everything. But one thing remained constant: our indomitable spirit, our ability to adapt and overcome. As the first hints of Earth's atmosphere began to buffet our ship, I smiled. The real adventure, I realized, was just beginning. "Welcome home," I murmured, as much to myself as to my crew. "Let's show the universe what humanity can really do." The descent through Earth's atmosphere was unlike any re-entry I'd experienced before. Our ship, infused with the energy we'd absorbed from the Nexus, seemed to dance between realities as we pierced the layers of our home world's sky. Streaks of impossible colors painted our viewscreen, a vivid reminder of how much had changed. As we broke through the cloud cover, the landscape below took my breath away. New Earth, as we'd come to call our transformed world, was a vibrant tapestry of evolved ecosystems. Bioluminescent forests pulsed with life, crystal spires that had once been mountains refracted sunlight in dazzling patterns, and in the distance, I could make out the swooping forms of creatures that defied easy categorization. "It's beautiful," Emily breathed, her enhanced senses drinking in the data. "The changes we initiated, they've accelerated beyond anything we predicted." Volkov nodded, his cybernetic eye whirring as it zoomed in on the terrain. "Let's hope the folks down there are as evolved as the landscape. We've got one hell of a story to tell them." Our landing site came into view, a sprawling complex that served as the heart of Earth's new government, a coalition of human and Zar'kali leaders who had guided our world through its transformation. As we touched down, I saw a welcoming committee already assembled. "Well," I said, straightening my uniform, "no time like the present. Let's go change the world." Again. As we disembarked, the air thick with anticipation, I was struck by the diversity of the group waiting for us. Humans stood shoulder to shoulder with evolved Zar'kali, their forms now a seamless blend of biology and technology, and among them, shimmering forms that reminded me of the light. It seemed Earth had attracted more cosmic attention in our absence. A familiar face stepped forward, Commander Sarah Reeves, my old friend and mentor, now the lead representative of the Earth Coalition. Her eyes widened as she took in our transformed appearances. "Jack," she said, her voice a mix of relief and awe, "welcome home, though I suspect home might be a relative term for you now." I clasped her hand, feeling the subtle energy that now flowed through all life on New Earth. "Sarah, it's good to be back. We have a lot to discuss." She nodded, her expression growing serious. "I can see that. The changes we've detected in your ship alone have our scientists baffled, and there are rumors, whispers of a shift in the cosmic order." "Those whispers," Volkov chimed in, "are about to become a roar." Over the next few hours, in a secure briefing room deep within the complex, we shared our story. The encounter with a light and Voidborn, the cosmic crucible we'd endured, and the responsibility we now carried as guardians of a new reality. With each revelation, I saw the mix of wonder and apprehension grow on the faces of Earth's leaders. "This is unprecedented," one of the Zar'kali representatives clicked, his bioluminescent patterns pulsing with excitement. "You speak of powers that could reshape the very fabric of existence." "Powers that could also tear it apart," Sarah added, her voice cautious. "Jack, are you certain we're ready for this? The changes we've already undergone have pushed us to our limits." I met her gaze steadily. "Ready or not, it's here. The Nexus has linked itself to our world. We're part of something larger now, something we can barely comprehend. But if there's one thing I've learned, it's that humanity, and our Zar'kali allies, are capable of adapting to anything the universe throws at us." As the implications of our discoveries sank in, the room buzzed with questions, concerns, and ideas. Plans were made for global announcements, for the establishment of new research institutions dedicated to understanding and harnessing the cosmic forces we now had access to. But even as we plotted the course for our world's future, I felt a familiar restlessness stirring within me. The universe we'd glimpsed was vast beyond imagining, filled with wonders and terrors we'd only begun to understand. As the meeting drew to a close, I pulled Sarah aside. "There's more out there," I said quietly. "More that needs to be explored, more balances that need to be struck. Earth is just the beginning." She studied my face for a long moment, then nodded. "I suspected as much. You're not planning on retiring to a quiet life of scientific research, are you?" I grinned, feeling the weight of cosmic responsibility balanced by the thrill of untold adventures to come. "Not a chance. New Earth needs ambassadors out there, guardians to help shape this new cosmic order we've stumbled into, and I can't think of a better crew for the job than the one I've got." Sarah's eyes twinkled with a mix of pride and resignation. "Well then, Captain Frost, it seems we have a new mission to plan. Earth's first official cosmic peacekeeping force. Has a nice ring to it, don't you think?" As we rejoined the others, already deep in discussion about the implications of our discoveries, I felt a surge of excitement. We had returned home changed, carrying knowledge that would reshape our world and our place in the universe. But the journey, I realized, was far from over. In fact, it was just beginning. The cosmos awaited, filled with challenges and wonders beyond imagining, and we, the children of New Earth, were ready to face it all. Our crucible had forged us into something new, not just explorers or survivors, but guardians of a cosmic balance we were only starting to understand. Whatever lay ahead, I knew one thing for certain. The universe wouldn't know what hit it. The weeks following our return were a whirlwind of activity. Earth, or New Earth, as it was now officially known, buzzed with anticipation and trepidation in equal measure. The news of our cosmic encounter and the responsibilities we now bore spread rapidly, sparking debates, fears, and hopes across the globe. I found myself shuttling between briefings, interviews, and planning sessions, trying to prepare our world for its new role in the cosmic order. It was exhausting, exhilarating work, but through it all, I couldn't shake the feeling that we were just scratching the surface of what lay ahead. One evening, as the sun set over the crystalline spires of New Geneva, I stood on the balcony of the Earth Coalition headquarters, watching the sky shimmer with auroras, a side effect of our planet's new cosmic attunement. Volkov joined me, his cybernetic eye glowing softly in the twilight. "Credit for your thoughts, Captain," he asked, offering me a steaming mug of what passed for coffee these days, a brew made from evolved plants that seemed to enhance cognitive function. I took a sip, savoring the complex flavors. "Just thinking about scale, old friend. A few years ago, our biggest concern was surviving an alien invasion. Now we're worried about maintaining the fabric of reality itself." Volkov chuckled, a sound that still carried echoes of battlefields long past. "We don't do anything by halves, do we?" Before I could respond, a shimmering portal opened in the air before us. I tensed, ready for action, but relaxed as I recognized the form that stepped through, one of the light we'd encountered at the Nexus. "Greetings, guardians of New Earth," it said, its mental voice tinged with urgency. "We come seeking your aid." Volkov and I exchanged a look. This was unexpected, but not entirely surprising. We'd known our new role would come with responsibilities beyond our world. "What's the situation?" I asked, slipping easily into mission mode. The light's form pulsed with what I'd come to recognize as concern. A colony of Voidborn, isolated from the changes at the Nexus, threatens a young civilization in a nearby star system. They do not yet understand the new balance we seek to create. We need your unique perspective to prevent conflict and guide them towards harmony. I felt a familiar mix of excitement and apprehension. This was what we'd been preparing for, the reason we'd established Earth's cosmic peacekeeping force. But the stakes were impossibly high. "We'll need a team," I said, already mentally selecting crew members, "and clearance from the Coalition." The next few hours were a blur of preparations. Emily joined us, eager to apply her enhanced intellect to this new challenge. K-Rix, our Zar'kali engineer, volunteered his services, his adaptive biology potentially crucial in an unknown environment. Sarah gave us the green light, her eyes shining with a mix of pride and worry. "Remember," she said as we prepared to depart, "you're not just representing Earth now. You carry the hopes of a new cosmic order. Be careful out there." As we stepped through the light's portal, leaving the familiar skyline of New Earth behind, I felt a surge of déjà vu. Once again, we were venturing into the unknown, facing challenges beyond our comprehension. But this time, we went not as mere explorers, but as guardians, armed with knowledge and responsibilities that spanned realities. The portal deposited us on a world that defied easy description. The sky was a swirling vortex of colors. The ground beneath our feet seemed to shift and flow like liquid, and in the distance, structures that might have been cities pulsed with otherworldly energy. "Well," Volkov muttered, his weapon at the ready, "I'd say we're not in Kansas anymore." I nodded, taking in the alien landscape. "Stay sharp, everyone. We're here to prevent a conflict, not start one." "Emily, what are we dealing with?" Our scientist was already scanning the environment, her enhanced senses interfacing with the cosmic energies around us. "It's incredible. This entire planet exists in a state of quantum flux. The Voidborn must be drawn to its unstable nature." "And the native civilization?" I pressed. K-Rix clicked, his bioluminescent patterns shifting as he processed the data. "I'm detecting signs of a highly advanced culture, but different. They seem to exist partially out of phase with conventional reality." As if in response to his words, shimmering forms began to coalesce around us. They were vaguely humanoid, but composed of shifting patterns of light and shadow, reminding me of both light and Voidborn, yet distinctly unique. Strangers from beyond, you walk the path between light and void. Why have you come to our realm? I took a deep breath, acutely aware that our next words could shape the fate of this world, and, potentially, the cosmic balance we'd sworn to protect. This was the moment we'd been preparing for, the reason we'd embraced our new role as cosmic guardians. We come seeking harmony, I said, projecting thoughts of peace and cooperation. To bridge the gap between creation and entropy, to forge a new path for all sentient beings. As the alien beings considered my words, I couldn't help but feel a sense of awe at the situation we found ourselves in. We had come so far from our origins as Deathworlders, survivors of a harsh planet. Now we stood on an alien world, mediating conflicts that spanned realities. Whatever challenges lay ahead, I knew one thing for certain. This was only the beginning of our cosmic journey, and we, the children of New Earth, were ready to face it all. The real adventure was just beginning. The alien beings surrounding us shimmered, their forms undulating as they processed my words. I could feel the weight of their collective consciousness pressing against my mind, probing, seeking to understand our intentions. Harmony, the lead entity echoed, its mental voice a symphony of conflicting emotions. A noble goal, yet one that has eluded our kind for eons. The Voidborn seek to unmake our reality, to return all to primal chaos. How can there be harmony with such a force? I took a step forward, careful to keep my posture open and non-threatening. Because chaos and order are two sides of the same coin, I explained, drawing on the wisdom we'd gained at the Nexus. True harmony isn't the absence of conflict, but the balance between opposing forces. Emily chimed in, her enhanced mind interfacing seamlessly with the quantum fluctuations around us. Your world exists in a state of constant flux, a perfect example of this balance in action. The Voidborn aren't your enemies, they're a necessary part of your ecosystem. The aliens' forms pulsed with surprise and curiosity. You speak with knowledge beyond your apparent evolution, one observed. What are you, truly? We are guardians, Volkov answered, his gruff voice carrying unexpected weight. Forged in the crucible of our own world's transformation, tested by cosmic forces, and charged with maintaining a new universal balance. K-Rix stepped forward, his Zar'kali biology adapting in real time to the shifting environment. We were once enemies, he clicked, bioluminescent patterns flashing. Now we are allies, proof that even the deepest divides can be bridged. As we spoke, I sensed a change in the atmosphere. The oppressive weight of hostility began to lift, replaced by a tentative curiosity. But before we could press our advantage, a cold wind swept across the landscape. The sky darkened, and from the shadows emerged figures that could only be the Voidborn colony we'd been warned about. Lies in pretty words, a voice like dying stars hissed. These outsiders seek to disrupt the natural order, to deny the ultimate truth of entropy. I turned to face the new arrivals, my team instinctively moving into a defensive formation. But I held up a hand, signaling them to hold. This wasn't a battle to be won with weapons or technology. We don't seek to deny entropy, I said, addressing both the Voidborn and the native aliens. We seek to understand it, to incorporate it into a greater whole. Just as your world incorporates both stability and change, the universe needs both creation and dissolution to thrive. For a tense moment, it seemed as though conflict was inevitable. The Voidborn writhed with barely contained energy, while the native aliens' forms flickered between solid and ethereal states. We stood at a cosmic crossroads, the fate of this world, and perhaps the new universal balance, hanging in the balance. Then, something extraordinary happened. One of the native aliens, its form a perfect blend of light and shadow, stepped into the space between us and the Voidborn. I understand, it said, its mental voice resonating with newfound clarity. We have feared the void, seeing only destruction. But in fearing it, we have denied a part of ourselves, of our very nature. A voidborn entity moved forward, its starry form seeming to soften. And we have sought only to unmake, forgetting that in destruction lies the seeds of new creation. Perhaps there is wisdom in balance. As we watched in awe, the two beings began to merge, their energies intertwining in a dance of creation and entropy. The very fabric of reality around us shuddered, then settled into a new configuration, more stable yet paradoxically more dynamic than before. By the gardeners, Emily breathed, her sensors going haywire. They're evolving, transcending their original forms to become something entirely new. The transformation spread, rippling out across the planet. Everywhere, Voidborn and native aliens were joining, forming a new species that embodied the very balance we'd spoken of. The sky above shimmered with new constellations, the ground beneath our feet hummed with harmonious energy. As the chaos of transformation settled, a being of breathtaking complexity approached us. It was neither Voidborn nor native, but a perfect synthesis of both. "You have shown us a truth we had forgotten," it said, its voice carrying echoes of an entire civilization. "In seeking to eliminate one half of our nature, we had doomed ourselves to eternal conflict. Now we are whole." I felt a sense of profound awe and humility wash over me. We had come seeking to prevent a war, to maintain cosmic balance. Instead, we had witnessed the birth of a new form of life, one that embodied the very principles we sought to uphold. "What will you do now?" Volkov asked, his usual gruffness softened by wonder. The being's form shimmered with what I interpreted as joy and purpose. "We will explore this new existence, learn to harness the full potential of our unified nature. And perhaps, in time, we will join you in your role as cosmic guardians." As we prepared to return home, my mind reeled with the implications of what we'd witnessed. We had set out to shape the cosmos, to maintain a delicate balance between opposing forces. But in doing so, we had catalyzed an evolution beyond anything we could have imagined. "You know," Emily said as the light's portal began to form, "I think we might need to rethink our entire approach to cosmic peacekeeping." I nodded, a smile tugging at my lips despite the weight of our responsibilities. "I think you're right. We're not just maintaining balance, we're midwives to a new cosmic order." As we stepped through the portal, leaving behind a world forever changed by our intervention, I felt a renewed sense of purpose. We had faced our first test as cosmic guardians and emerged transformed, our understanding of our role and the universe itself expanded beyond measure. The journey ahead would be challenging, filled with wonders and terrors beyond imagining. But as I looked at my team, human, Zar'kali, and everything in between, I knew we were ready. We were no longer just the children of Earth, but true citizens of the cosmos. And our greatest adventures were still to come.